Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. If I can ask you to take a seat, please, we will start shortly. So you're going to hand the clicker to Thomas, or you're going to hand the clicker to me, and I'll hand it to Thomas?
I'll hand it to you.
Fine.
He's mic'd
Yes, I know he
Nobody
is.
needs this.
He needs the clicker.
There's only one clicker. Yeah.
So what I've said to
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here this afternoon, especially in this beautiful venue here in Hong Kong. And it's fantastic for Siyun and I to look out and see so many of our friends and supporters sitting here in the audience today, and not forgetting our online viewers, so we extend a virtual hello to you today as well. So here we are, 6 years later, the Captain Table final. And I think it's safe to say we wouldn't be here 6 years on without the support of a lot of people. So we just want to extend a quick thank you to all the supporters. So first of all, obviously the government and Transport and Logistics Bureau and Invest Hong Kong for sponsoring and supporting and allowing us to be a key event during Hong Kong Maritime Week this week. Of course, our corporate sponsors as well, and our partners, our media partners, many of who have been with us since day one. And then, of course, not forgetting the Captain's Table team and Jasper and his team, who you'll be hearing more about later today. So 2024, 6 years on, how do we look? This year we received 42 applications from startups from 19 different countries. So I think it's safe to say we're very much global now. And it's getting increasingly difficult to decide who the 7 finalists are, or 6 or 7 finalists are, that we bring to Hong Kong. But here we are. We have 7 amazing finalists here today who've been with us since Sunday, practicing very hard. And we'll also be showing 3 short showcase videos as well from some other promising startups.
Thanks, Tabitha. Great to be back in Hong Kong again. And every year I say this, coming to Hong Kong in November, I'm just glad it's not 29 or 30 degrees Celsius. So I'll live with the rain. I'll take the weather anytime. 2024 has been an amazing year for Captain's Table. Captain's Table has always been a Hong Kong-based event, but in 2024, I think we really expanded our wings. In collaboration with some of the top maritime VCs in the world, we hosted Maritime Tech Demo Days in Athens and in Hamburg. We also have very ambitious plans for growth. I know a number of you in this room have spoken to us about growth before, and we never really give you a straight answer. And that's because we believe that the growth that we want to get involved in and the platform that we want to become, we're not able to do it unless we have a strong team. So 2024 has also been an amazing year for us because our team has grown. In addition to Tabitha and myself, as co-founders, this year we welcomed aboard Nelly as our program director, Vedika as our strategy and growth director, and Regina Tan as a program manager. But fresh news, hot off the press, we're also very happy now to welcome Matthew Treadwell as our Data and Technical Director. And all of these people are essentially volunteering their time for us because currently we're still not profit-making. But as we grow, we hope to actually become a little bit more sustainable. But that's enough from me and Tabitha for now. This year, we do have a keynote speech, so I'd like to welcome on stage... Oh, sorry. Before I go there, I forgot. Thinking about the future, and as female founders, we really want to help female leaders come into themselves and climb the executive ladder. So we are intending to host a female leadership virtual program. If any of you in this room want to find out more, please do scan the QR code and help us spread the news. Moving on to our keynote speech, we're very lucky this year to have Dr. Sanjay Kutan from the Global Center for Maritime Decarbonization to give us a short keynote speech. Dr. Kutan.
Thank you to Tabitha and Suyin for including GCMD in this real bottoms-up event. I understand this is actually industry-driven. So the finalists should be heartened to know that you have a lot of people in industry who's really looking forward to listen to you. We at the Global Center, we're a non-profit organization as well. We don't pick winners or losers. We focus on problem statements that frustrate the adoption of clean technologies. And we are squarely focused on international maritime, and we're squarely focused on decarbonization. So I have to tell you something about the challenges that we're facing. Like I said, we're really focused on facilitating this creation of standards by using our money that we have from our donors to fund projects that allow us to do what we do. This is the reason why we are concerned, right? Global warming is real, is an existential threat. So this is the reason why the team at GCMD is always focused on what can we do, no matter how small it is, to make a difference in terms of addressing climate change. This is the problem for shipping. Since 2008, a lot of work has been done, a lot of energy efficiency has been put in place. But up to 2022, with the level of emissions has almost remained flat. And I think a recent report from UCL will tell us with the 2023 numbers, we're not anywhere closer to the target we want to be by 2030. The gap is widening, partly because of the growth of trade. So it's undoing the, sorry, let me, oops. How do I get back? Ah, there you go. Okay, there, sorry about that. Yeah, so when we look at the challenge, we need to think of all elements, right? There's no silver bullet in this. We got to look at clean fuels, we got to look at energy efficiency, and we need to look at carbon capture. Only because fossil fuel will be with us at least until 2050, if not beyond. So we need to, how do we remove the CO2 from the fossil fuels? We need to think of carbon capture as well. But we need all hands on deck, all technologies to help us even close that gap that's going to be ever increasing with global trade. So what we do, and I'm just going to very quickly go through these 8 items, and I just want to put it up there. When we look at projects within the GCMD, we ask ourselves, are we addressing any one of these 8 drivers? If we're not addressing any one of these 8 drivers, our projects will not stick. It'll be a nice project, a nice report that'll go on the shelf, but it cannot be adopted because we're not addressing issues that affect the drivers for decarbonization. And that's what we are always focused on. We always question ourselves in the team, right? Now, when we think about the 3 important things going forward, and I know we have a mixed audience here. We have the innovators and we're going to have the adopters. Collaboration is important, and I know we've heard this ad nauseum, but it's the type of collaboration that we need to think about. For the innovators, I would ask you to think beyond yourself. See how you can work with other innovators to create a more holistic solution. You all are part of a puzzle, but I think coming together, you can create the scale and impact rather than trying to go in it alone. So be always on the lookout for potential synergistic partnerships that add more to the full solution space. And I think for the adopters, you need to think about going beyond your current business models. You need to think about if we're going to address climate change at the pace that we need to address it, then we need to think differently in how we've been doing business when it comes to decarbonization and it comes to adopting solutions. Don't let, and this has been said many times, don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. Every little step that we try to make a difference is a step forward towards perfection. So don't think of the perfect solution, but think about that good solution and how you can learn and move forward. And I think that will give the innovators a chance to move forward as well, if you're not just looking for the perfect solution, right? Share that knowledge, and I think there's a lot of knowledge to be shared, and I think we really need to come out of that competitiveness when it comes to decarb. If safety is a non-negotiable item in our daily lives, in our business, why isn't the existential threat of climate change any different? We cannot treat decarb as a business in itself, but actually a pathway to actually save humanity and the world if you believe in the existential threat of climate change. So let's share the right knowledge so that we all can move forward together, right? And this is really when you talk about balancing impact in the boardroom. It's just not about return on investments, but we have to think about return on the environment as well. We need a better balance. We need both, right, for sustainable business and a sustainable environment. So to rethink how we make decisions in the boardroom so that we can actually have a better balance between the environment and the business. Sorry. Okay. Note, guys, when you're presenting that this can be a bit tricky. So at GCMD, what we've been doing, we have 3 initiatives at the moment. We have a 4th one coming up. So we've been focusing on enabling ammonia as a marine fuel, looking at biofuels and trying to address the quality assurance on the pathways, and we are looking at carbon capture. All these companies have come together with us. Remember, we are a non-profit. But they have come together with us to actually build the solutions that is going to be shared with everyone. And that's my last slide. And this is the QR code for all our reports that we have published so far. They're all free of charge, downloadable from our website. So please, if you're interested in any of these areas, please take a moment to copy the QR code. And we look forward to answering your questions. And finalists, wish you all the best. Don't be nervous, have fun, right? Laugh if you need to, but this is going to be a great day for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kuttan. And we'll be sharing all the information with our attendees after the event. And I think we can all agree, working in the shipping industry, we have first-hand knowledge and experience with the climate change crisis. But it's time to get the show on the road, and I'd like to, first of all, introduce the 6 judges that have the difficult decision of deciding who's going to be the 2024 Captain's Table winner. So introducing the panel from left to right, we have some familiar faces with us today. Those with experience. We have Gautam Chelaram, Chairman of KC Maritime. Shah Irani, CTO at Fleet Management. We have Paul Dean, who's joined us very early this morning, who's partner and head of global shipping at HFW, who have been a long-term supporter of the Captain's Table for many years. We have Jonathan Silva, GC at Purus, and last but not least, Avneet, I skipped over you. Avneet Singh, Director of APAC from Vesen, and Harsh Bave, Fleet Director at Pacific Basin. So I think you will agree this is a very diverse panel. There's a huge amount of experience among them. And I'm sure there'll be some heated debates in the judges' room off stage. So with that, I'm going to introduce Chris O'Callaghan to bring on the first finalist. And Chris is obviously, I'm sure you're all very familiar with him, been with us for 6 years as our enrichment partner, and he works very closely with the finalists to make sure that they're prepared for their moment in the spotlight. So Chris, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you very much and good afternoon. I'd like to introduce our first finalist for this afternoon, Thomas Friesland. Thomas is from Swiss Ocean Technology, based in Switzerland, presenting AnchorGuardian, which ensures safe and sustainable anchoring for any vessel type. Thomas, welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Thomas Friesland. I'm Managing Director and founder of Swiss Ocean Tech, and this is our solution, AnchorGuardian. Outside of Singapore, and this is Hong Kong, outside of Singapore, on any given day, you have about 1,000 ships anchoring. Imagine one of those ships dragging its anchor. It's not just a problem for that ship, but for any ship in its vicinity. On the other hand, we have solutions for navigation like GPS, radar, depth sounder, and so on. But we do not have anything that actually monitors the anchor itself. We do not know what happens underwater. Today's anchoring is based on the experience of the captain and the crew, and they are not supported with any hard data or direct evidence. When I talked to Matthias Bosse, who was the captain of Lady Mara at the time, and he was a former merchant captain, he said, for him, anchoring is the most dangerous condition for a ship. And that is a sentiment shared by many in the industry. On average, a merchant ship anchors 8% of its time. That is about 1 month per year. So in 1 month per year, the captain and the crew do not have any hard data or evidence based upon their operation. The problem with anchor dragging is that you have groundings, you have collisions, you have anchor loss. It's been estimated that about 1% of all merchant ships lose their anchor on a yearly basis. Also, we have damage to subsea cables and pipelines. It's estimated that about 1/3 of the damage is due to dragging anchors. The total claim volume on a yearly basis is about $1 billion. We also have, due to anchor dragging, oil spills and other contaminations. A prominent example is Huntington Bay, outside of Los Angeles. A merchant ship dragged its anchor across the oil pipeline, and you had an oil spill. Balikpapan Bay, 2018, oil spill of 130 square kilometers. The ecological impact has been estimated at $8 billion. Now, this does not happen on a daily basis, but when it happens, it has big consequences. Excuse me. Dragging anchors create havoc on the seafloor. It damages corals and others and seagrass. AnchorGuardian can help to prevent that. So how do we do this? AnchorGuardian provides information and intelligence during all the stages when anchoring. When you're laying your anchor, when you are at anchor, and when you're lifting at your anchor. To give you an example, this is about when you are at anchor. We can show you the distance to the anchor, the depth of the anchor. We can tell you if and how much your anchor is dragging with sub-meter accuracy. We tell you the velocity of the drag. We measure if the anchor chain is being lifted and by how much. We also measure the force at the anchor, so the load. And we can also tell you how much of your chain is actually lying on the seafloor. In this example, it's 0 meters because the chain is lifted. And we can also tell you how the anchor is lying in the sediment, the roll angle. Additionally, we can predict the anchor hold. And we can also show you on your electronic chart where your anchor is right now. In the future, we will also be able to show other ships where your anchor is. AnchorGuardian, the heart of AnchorGuardian is the so-called anchor module. It has all our sensors, algorithms inside. You see it here behind me. This communicates with the vessel through ultrasound. On the vessel, you have a display or an app on your smartphone, on your tablet, where you get all the information. The value we provide is, on one hand, safety for the crew and passengers, for your vessel. We can also help you to reduce the claims and to enable the owners to reduce the premiums. We can help to reduce the impact of anchoring on the environment, and we can also support you on fuel savings by reducing the time on weathering at sea, standby, and main engines idling. As Eastern Pacific is one of our partners, they have invested in our company. They have signed in, we have signed in the first pilot with them for merchant ships, and we have signed an LOI for them as well. We are now in discussion with another ship owner on similar terms. So AnchorGuardian is actually creating a new market. There's nothing like AnchorGuardian today. You have other solutions like GPS, anchor alarms, and radar, but they monitor the vessel, the movement of the vessel, not the anchor itself. And in addition, you do not have that information intelligence that we can provide. So, we are here. We offer an investment opportunity of 3 million, and we look for partners and pilots to grow further into the merchant shipping market. AnchorGuardian is for anchoring, what GPS is for navigation. Thank you.
Have 10 minutes of questions, please, judges.
Thank you for a very good presentation. I see that this system is on use on yachts and pleasure boats and such like, and you want to expand to the merchant fleet. Up to what depth has it been tested? Because typically pleasure boats would be about 15, 20 meters depth, whereas merchant fleet would be 80, 90, even 100 meters at times.
Yes, you're absolutely right. So we have just entered the superyacht market, and for the superyacht market, our device is proved to 100 meters of depth. And yes, you have a bit, for Jera, I heard there's a bit more depth than that actually, so this will of course be increased as well. But basically the anchor module that you saw on the picture, or you see on the picture here, this is for a superyacht. For a merchant ship, it will be basically the same principle, but the mechanics will be bigger. So you will also have more batteries inside to have long operation time and so on, and also to achieve the depth, as you mentioned.
Can you tell me whether or not the insurers would lower their premiums if you had these anchor monitors installed?
Yeah, so we started talking to insurance companies like P&I clubs and so on, and the feedback is they're very interested. We don't know yet if we can find some agreement, but they already promised to support us, to publish what AnchorGuardian does. We have already been published in one of the internal newsletters by one of the insurers, so that's definitely a road we're going to take, yes.
Has there been any analysis done of how much the premium might be reduced by with?
We haven't reached that yet, no.
Very good presentation, thank you very much indeed. Can you explain to me the value proposition? So you talk about the money that could be saved, but in relation to, say, insurance premiums, how does that work?
Yeah, so what we actively do is by helping to avoid, I mean, to explain it even more in detail, today's anchoring solutions, they are all reactive, right? When you're a captain, when you're crew, you do things based upon your experience, and then you hope for it to hell. With AnchorGuardian, you can actually be proactive. So you will actually see before things happen, okay, in what direction is this moving? Do I need to change anything or not? So we are actually helping to prevent anchor dragging. And by preventing anchor dragging, we will on one hand reduce the number of collisions and groundings. Then anchor loss is also a big issue. We will not prevent all anchor loss, because not all of them are related to anchoring itself, but there's a fair amount of that. What is important as well is, and we spoke to Guard, and they said the fifth biggest claim they have, category, is anchor loss. And it's not so much, the value of the anchor, but it's retrieving the anchor. And with AnchorGuardian, you can actually pinpoint your anchor, even when you lost it, within a few meters. So actually finding it is quite easy.
Thomas, great presentation. Thank you. My question is that for the merchant fleet, there are standard trades. So, whether from Australia to China, whether on tankers, bulkers, etc. So, at these ports, issues of the environment have probably been taken into consideration. And the cost for this is 25,000 euros in your presentation. So, if there are existing trades in place, and this hasn't come up in the past, how would you justify the viability of spending this kind of money on this if things currently are working on existing trades?
Yeah, so it's not really always working like we saw on the data we saw before. And the merchant ships spend a lot of their time at anchor. I mean, it depends if it's a container ship or it's a tanker. You have all the variation there. So they stay a lot of time at anchor. You have those damages, you have those claims due to that. And in addition, we will also be able to help you to save your own fuel with AnchorGuardian.
Great, thank you.
Was also about the price point, because it's, I mean, we operate a 100+ ship fleet, and we spend quite a lot of time at anchor, actually, on average about 100 days a year per ship. Mm-hmm. And in the last 10 years, we have not lost anywhere close to $1 million because of anchor dragging. Yep. Whereas this price point would make us spend many X times that, actually. So. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a very good point. The problem is when we, for instance, talk with insurance companies, but also with ship owners and ship management companies, they do not really know what the impact of anchor dragging is, or anchoring, or sometimes even of anchor loss. So when we talk to insurance companies, they say, you know, we have groundings, we have collisions, we have fire on that, but we do not really look at the root cause. So we did a study with an insurance company. They looked on data for 2-3 years they had, and they came out about, okay, 5% of the claims they were estimating was due to anchor dragging. So there's a number that's not really present there. We have the cost, but we don't really know them all the time. I would talk to a ship owner, and he said, this is very interesting because it's about safety. That's important to us. But I'm not sure, I heard about it, but I'm not sure how many cases we actually have. And then after we talked, he actually went back. That was the CEO. He went back to his company and said, guys, let me know. What can you find? And he came back to me and said, Thomas, I was really surprised. You know, we have it more often than I would ever imagined. And I mean, we have close calls all the time, he said. So it's maybe a perception. I think, sorry to expand on that, but I think it's a bit like, we know anchoring is as it is uncertain, but that's the way it is and we live with it. We don't think about this. But now we have a solution for that. So now maybe it's time to think, well, actually, how big is that problem? Because we couldn't do something about it before. Now we can actually do something.
We've got time for one final question.
Thomas, great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
In terms of your competitors in the market, how easy is it for someone to come up with the same idea or similar idea? And what do you think gives you that unique edge over them?
Yeah. So the current solutions that you have, like, for instance, GPS and so on, they don't work because they don't work underwater. And that's also why we came up with a solution. I have to say, we have spent almost more than 10 years on developing this. We are pushing technology on 3 different areas, really strong, on algorithm side, sensor side, ultrasound communication. We believe that we have at least a 3-year ahead of any other to come to that same level. And we also have IP, so that will also protect us. But I mean, let me put it this way. I personally don't believe that IP will protect you forever. I mean, we're a small startup, you know, limited means. But I firmly believe in that the head start that we have, we're going to keep that. And we're going to go from everything from super tankers down to small leisure boats at the end of the day. And we're going to keep developing. We have so many ideas what you can do more with that. So I'm absolutely certain we will keep that head start.
Thomas, that's it, I'm afraid. Thank you very much, Thomas Friesland.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We're moving on to our second finalist this evening, Captain Debashis Basu from India. Captain Basu is from NavGuide Solutions. They utilize technology to significantly enhance vessel performance in inspections through skills development and patented microlearning tools. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. I'm the founder of NavGuide Solutions. Now, 20 years back, I joined my first ship as a third officer. Now, I was on deck inspecting the 4 monitors. I did my best. The chief officer did not cross-check, only to find out in front of a port state inspector a couple of days later that one of the isolation valves was not working. That ship, under full charter, got detained. And I realized that I did not understand what good looks like. See, performance gaps exist, and they can be very, very expensive. We are not just talking about detentions and claims here. With the right ship and the SIRE 2.0 regimes getting stronger and stricter, more focused on compliance, a vessel owner with a fleet of ships that is unprepared stands to lose millions of dollars in terms of lost opportunities, charter hire, and commercial contracts. Now, after having spoken to over 300 operators, it turns out we have given the seafarer one of 3 tools to perform on board. There is an over-reliance on checklists and written instructions, which may be misinterpreted. There's a dependence on onboard mentorship, expecting that the senior will teach the junior. Now, when this happens, this is the best way to learn your job, hands down. We have all learned from our seniors, but it may not always happen. And classroom training, which typically has a retention of less than 10% across the board. So we wanted to solve this, and what we wanted to do is, we wanted to visualize and gamify instructions, break it down into bite-sized modules, and most importantly, give it to the seafarer at a time when it is needed. A kind of just-in-time mentorship, which would maintain the vessel's charter ready at all times, compliant at all times. I'm very proud to announce Guide to Inspections. Guide to Inspections is a class-approved app, the only app of its kind which combines inspection and guidance tools in the same platform. So we've taken over 2.5 years of work to build this app, and what it does is, in a sense, it gives a tool to the seafarer to inspect the vessel or their respective areas at the level of an inspector. So here's what it does. As you can see, the vessel is divided into multiple areas and sections. You could go into any of the areas. You can carry out an inspection, self-inspect your own areas, put your comments, put an evidence photograph, and send it back to the office. But most interestingly, when you have a doubt, the app also doubles up as a mentor, using thousands of photographs that are embedded for each check, using notes that were created by senior auditors to make things simpler, and a video that actually takes you into a ship, giving you a live round of the vessel. So all the reports that are collected through this app comes back to an analytical dashboard in the office, which then can be trended and analyzed in the office, and it works offline. Well, the value proposition is we are talking about organically upskilling the seafarers, giving them a mentorship tool in their hands. We're talking about giving a central inspection management system to the companies and keeping the vessel's charter ready at all times for right ship inspections, SIRE, AMSA, US Coast Guard, internal, external audits, and so on. Think of this app as a super smart, super energetic training superintendent that you have placed on board every ship all the time, 24/7. We are creating a new category. For the first time, we are talking about connecting competency management to a measurable outcome. We're talking about a dynamic style of mentorship. We are bringing the classroom into the field. We have active engagement. Users like MOL, K-Line, Swire Group that are already using this system. We have a steady year-on-year growth, multiple trials going on from customers, and active interest from some of the biggest names in the industry. We have also been recognized by international bodies like BIMCO, Intertanko, to present the concept of onboard mentorship in this manner. Now, the team, I must tell you, we are a very core marine team. This is not a technology company trying to enter the maritime space. We actually understand the problem we are solving. We have lived and breathed that problem. I am very proud to say Captain Sartaj Gill is here with me, our chief strategist. He has been the global compliance head for 2 of the biggest companies in the world, V Group and OSM Thome. Also supported by a very strong advisory board of industry stalwarts, some of whom have held major roles in the IMO, in P&I clubs, and OCIMF. Now, what are we all excited about? We were working with a ship in Rotterdam where the vessel master had confirmed that everything is fine on board. The third officer who was using our systems found out that there was a crack in the rescue boat where you tighten up the lashings. It's a very common area to have a crack. Now, identifying this saved that ship a detention which would have caused over $80,000 in charter loss. And we could actually establish that we have implemented a proactive, risk-based culture on board. Our business model is a B2B SaaS freemium model. There's a free version of this app that you can download right now. And it's a very, very sticky model. We own 100% of the IPR. We have over 1,500 downloads with a 4.6-star rating. The company is currently bootstrapped, and we are looking at accelerating this growth multifold by an investment that we are asking for $1 million, diluting 12.5% at an $8 million valuation. Besides this, we want every company in the world to use our app, every ship. The entry barriers is really low. As I said, in the next half an hour, you can install it from the Android App Store or Play Store. Check it out for yourself and implement on board your vessels. So the vision that we are aiming for is, how would the world look like if every seafarer was brought into the mindset of an inspector? Thank you.
Captain Basu, thank you very much. Captains, over to you, please.
Hi, Basu. I'm Shah. Thanks very much for the presentation. Very engaging. So you mentioned in your pitch that current classroom retention is around 10%. So how are you measuring how your app is better? Like, specifically, how are you measuring that?
So we are not talking about classroom training at all. We are saying that, let's say, if there's a second mate on the ship, we are saying, forget training, just go do your job. The app is actually an inspection app that will help you do your job, moving through the bridge and actively, maintaining the bridge the way it should look like. But while you're doing your job, if you need mentoring, we mentor you on site. This aligns with the Gen Z way of thinking, because our ability to remember now is coming down because we have information on our fingertips everywhere. In the shipping industry, we have created that system which could mentor the people on site. So we are not depending on the classroom training, quote unquote.
No, sorry, I understand that, but I was just trying to understand, how do you make sure that if someone's learned one of your videos, then how do they retain that? Because that's what you're saying, that this micro-learning is more effective at being able to be remembered. So how do you measure that?
First, it's visual, and the feedback that comes back constantly, because we have active users now. We have feedbacks coming in from active users. So the feedback comes in, like, for example, a second engineer, before he goes down to the engine room, he takes a look at a video. Now, typically, any checklist has less than 10, very, very low retention. So basically, when you watch a video, you can remember a lot more of that. Now, when you get a tool that actually helps you take the feedback from how the vessel is maintained, that's how we get the results back from the vessel, and we can substantiate that the person is performing on board.
Very, very engaging presentation. For doing inspections, and particularly PSC preparation, for instance, every owner uses different checklists. Today we have a Hong Kong Marine Department checklist which we fill up, and several of our own checks. And just doing the inspection as per the checklist takes at least 3 to 4 days if it is done religiously. Now, if at every item the person has to watch even a 2 to 3 minute video, that time will get increased fabulously.
Yeah, so every item does not have to be, so we have created these videos combining checks and systemizing. Let's say, if I were to give you a checklist on inspecting a lifeboat, it would typically have, let's say, 55 points. You could look at it and say that this will take me the whole day. But what happens with a 5-minute video if I combine all that points, systematically arranging that as you go up on the lifeboat, you check these, and then you check this? What happens in the end, it actually reduces the time that the person takes on site. And this is not to say that every single point has a video. We are supporting every question with a photograph, but let's say 50 or 60 points are combined into one video. So we have about 72 videos in the app that is covering in 3 to 4 minutes different sections of the ship. And the people do not have to watch the videos every time. They can always go and use this as an inspection app. They have watched the videos once or twice before, they probably remember it, and now the app works like an inspection app for the seafarers. That's how it is.
Thank you for a very good presentation. I really enjoyed that. This question is a similar question to the ones that you've just been asked, but it's slightly different in terms of its nuance. And there's an expression which is, show me and I will remember. Involve me and I will deliver. How do you deal with the second part of that?
Thank you for that question. So in a lot of cases, what is happening is the mentorship. So just to clarify, there has been over 100 years of inspection experience in terms of the subject matter experts that have worked to create these videos. Okay? So typically, these videos are created at a higher level at which a ship staff would mentor their juniors. A much, much higher level. In fact, we are talking about the expertise level of a senior inspector who would come and inspect the vessel, right? That's how we are saying. So what happens is, in a lot of cases, these videos are being used by the seniors on board to actually mentor their juniors, and nobody is expecting that you watch a video and then you're an expert. You actually have to go do the job. Like say, if it's a pilot ladder video, you have to actually rig the pilot ladder to understand and get the feel of it. The videos support the actual mentorship that may or may not happen on the ship, and it sort of gives you that tool in your hand. Now, how you use it, many companies are using it as toolbox meetings, for example. Before you go do the job, watch this 3-minute or 4-minute video. There are multiple use cases. Companies are putting this in their PMS systems. You have a checklist in the PMS, and then you have a click to watch video, which sort of visualizes that checklist. So multiple use cases for this approach. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Can I ask, how do you maintain your competitive edge? I mean, you talk about just using readily available apps. So, how do you stop a competitor coming in and doing exactly the same thing, or creating a more bespoke product, handheld device,
right,
which would quickly supersede something that's already just,
the defensibility, yes. So, couple of things that we have done. First of all, why did it take us 2.5 years? We divided the vessel into these 16 areas, worked with subject matter experts to dissect and make it very, very granular, understanding each and every regulation, not the broad level understanding, but break it down into simple. So the first entry barrier, I would say that the research and the database we have, which is backing this app up, it's not a simple checklist. It's very, very elaborate. And based on that, these videos that we have created, I'm not saying nobody else can do this. Of course, it can be done, but what we are ahead of in time is because the videos have come in almost 3 years back in the industry. They are being used by multiple companies, and we have got phenomenal amount of feedback. So this is the 9th or 10th version that you would see now. Now, any company who starts today would take some sufficient amount of time to get that kind of a version, which is... So again, another thing is that maybe a year or two later, when we have substantial user base, our data becomes defensible. That's what we are looking at.
We have time for one final question.
Okay, thank you. Debash, great presentation. How do you know the owner-manager knows that the various inspection modules, such as SIRE, RightShip, PSC, are the latest module? So how do you know whether they're the latest module from the inspections?
All right, so we are constantly updating this. We are in a very, very tough space. This question which you asked will be asked by every company, every manager, because they are trusting our expertise on this. So we have a marine team, that is constantly iterating and updating. Not the videos get updated regularly, but the checklists and the rest of the content of the app is up to date with any changes. In fact, right now we are updating it with the RISQ3, which came in just a few months back. So yes, it is, but also there's a lot of feedback that comes from the ships, that comes from the superintendents, which we factor in when we are updating our next database. So we keep them updated if that's what you're asking. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It's just more that the onus is on you to see that it's updated. Otherwise, you'll be giving incorrect modules. So it's just more on what process do you follow with the modules to see that they are the latest.
Yeah, so that is where, I mean, the NKK class approval also was part of the question, and during the class approval asked us this question. So we have an internal marine team, people that have been into inspection space that's doing this updation on a regular basis. Beyond that, every time we get a feedback from the company, we're factoring that in. So that's our present way to keep this up to date all the time. And this anyways does not take away the onus on the ship staff to do their jobs or their professional expertise. We will, it's always going to be very, very important. It's a support system that it breaks it down. And
thank you.
And one of the things that we are all, doing very organically is reducing the workload on the senior management. A couple of days back, a second officer carried out a bridge audit, which brought out 10 deficiencies, 2 of them detainable deficiencies, from a vessel which was very, very well maintained and owned by one of the best operators in the world. And this is not to, it's just to say that we are empowering the juniors, which is organically answering the question of human factor, which is today a very, very big factor in terms of RightShip or SIRE inspections. After having carried out this inspection, that second officer has seen the bridge in ways that an inspector will not see. So basically, to ask him a question, or when you're, checking his knowledge, he will be much more knowledgeable, and the vessels are upgrading themselves. This is just to show you a heat map of what you get on the shore side. Sorry.
Captain Basu, thank you very much. Okay, before we move on to our third finalist this evening, just a couple of quick announcements. The first thing to say is there will be a QR code shared for the public votes. It's a highly contested, almost as important thing to win, and we'll share that in a little while. The second thing to say is there will, when we've seen all 7 finalists this evening, be an opportunity to have a public Q&A session. We'll bring all of our startups up onto the stage, and we'll give people an opportunity to ask questions. So if you can start thinking about questions based on the first 2 you've seen, that would be fantastic. Thank you very much. Why have we got clear slides up? Yeah. Okay, well, let's move on to our third finalist this evening. I'd like to introduce Haibin Li from China. Haibin represents Anlan Tech, a leading marine hull and cargo insurance technology company using advanced AI to protect insured vessels and cargoes. Haibin, welcome.
So hello everyone, my name is Haibin Li, the founder of Anlan Tech. Really pleased to be here this afternoon. I will wait for the slides and we'll introduce our marine insurance risk management platform for today. So the world trading, actually 90% of the trade depends on marine and shipping. And it takes account of 24 trillion world trade volumes. And marine insurance is really important part of this. And interestingly, marine insurance is also one of the oldest insurance products. That's because along the history of our shipping industry, because shipping is quite risky, and insurance, since the figure from last year, from your IOMI report, the loss ratio is still as high as 70%. So can marine insurance company do better to providing risk management service rather than just sell insurance and make claims? They're definitely trying to. And the problem, the difficulty to do that is that it's really high cost and inefficient to providing such detailed risk management service for each insured vessel. And I think that problem can be largely solved by combining today's tremendous available marine data and leverage the power of AI. So how can we do it? So not like traditional marine insurance, we have looked at few parameters like static vessel attributes. We add, for example, environmental information, the hurricane, for example. We add political conflicts, for example, the war, the port strike. We also add operational management, the PSC record. But more importantly, we have to consider the large amount of insurance claims and accident analytical results. So we put all this data together and train machine learning neural network AI model. And it actually come up with quite accurate conclusion by predicting a certain vessel that have a certain behavior at a certain time, traveling to a certain location, and then we can provide a risk profile and a risk report for that vessel, and that will be used by insurance company to decide premium and future risk, give a recommendation to whether to eliminate or manage the risk to avoid future accidents. Okay, so that's a screenshot of our platform. It's a dashboard of our risk management service and an example of the risk report. So the whole idea is how to use data and AI to transfer industrial knowledge and experience to an automatic risk management process and come up a standard conclusion for risk. So our system actually can monitoring all the insured vessels and in real time, continuously providing a risk message and through insurance company to the ship owners and the shipping companies. And also shipping company, when they buy insurance, they can get it for free. So our risk report have 5 important features to conclude a vessel risk. For example, the vessel itself, the valuation, for example, the behavior and the operation, and for example, the management information, more importantly from the historical accident to analyze whether it happens. So we come from China, in Shanghai, and since this year, most of the Chinese insurance companies have been using our platform to providing risk management service for ship owners and shipping companies. And we have been serving more than 70% of the insured vessels in China, including the big companies, for example, PICC and Ping An. So when insurance company have this tool, the salesperson will be easier to tailor to customize insurance policies for our clients, for example, ship owners. And the underwriter will be more capable to evaluate risk, to manage risk, and to give recommendations. And the claim will be easier, faster, and more efficient. So our business model is also very straightforward. We sell our risk report, and we license our platform. We also connect insurance with the industry, try to facilitate cargo and marine haul insurance, and to be innovated in insurance products. So we generated $2 million last year revenue, and we make a little bit profit. We put the profit into our research R&D. So we are looking for $2 million investment for developing our international market and also put more resources in our product. So we expect at least 5 times growth in the next 3 years. And this is an introduction of our management team. Myself, as a very technical background CEO, I have been doing risk management in insurance and marine insurance for the last 15 years. And then my co-founder, Mr. Gao, was previously director from Ping An Marine Haul Insurance, and my friend, Dr. Xiao, in charge of data analytics. So thank you and for Captain's Table to organize such events. And we are really passionate to keep shipping and the maritime safer and better by using technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Haibin. And may I come to the judges again? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that presentation. It's very interesting. Can I just ask a general question? All of the customers that you showed were insurance companies. What's the interplay between the owner, the broker, and the insurer underwriter? I mean, for instance, is it just insurance companies that buy your product? Or can the owner also buy the product? Or could the owner dispute the report if he's not happy with it? How does that work?
Sure, thank you. So yeah, so insurance company, they have the most motivation to use the platform, but we also work with brokers and reinsurance and P&I clubs. For example, in our case, insurance company in China, they have to work with reinsurance company internationally. They have to work with P&I club. They are brokers. Because we just started since 2020, and there are brokers want to buy our platform. We already started the business, but I just didn't explain it here. Yeah. That's our model. Yeah.
Thank you. It was a great presentation. How authentic will your data be from the ship owners? And what if some of the data is not correct? Then can the owners come back and say, listen, these claims are slightly inflated. The data has to be accurate. How can you rectify that or just reconfirm that?
Yeah, sure. That's definitely there's a possibility making errors because our data, majority of data actually from AS, from Lloyd's List. We buy the commercial data and we collaborate with marine agencies. So our data actually probably can guarantee 99% of the accuracy. There's some time when the ship registered information is not the same as when they buy insurance. That's actually happened. So insurance company actually always come to us and say, oh, whether your information is aligned with ship owners. So now, in that case, we have to use our offline team expertise to identify the problem. And we have to dig into why that happened, whether the registered information from an agency is not correct or they provide false information. So in that case, we involve offline team to verify the data.
Hi, Eben. Thank you for your presentation. So who are your competitors in this space then?
Yeah, so internationally, Vessel Value, for example, and because I would say insurance industry is there's different players in the market to providing marine information platform. There's an information platform for ship owners, just check where the vessel is. But for insurance, they more care about risks and documents. And for now, I think Redship also works with insurance. And also there's a Windward from London. But they focus on specific features, not the whole picture of the risk profile. So I think that there's a competitor, but we providing more comprehensive report. That's why based in China, there haven't been a really direct competitor right now, apart from.
But do you think those competitors will be able to copy what you do? Because obviously what you're saying, the data sources and other things that you're getting, they could build similar models to also kind of like compete with you, can't they? Or what do you see as your special source or USP?
Yeah, so I guess for any data or information technology company will have this varied. So I can't say they can't copy us. I think we are leading. There's a few advantages. One is the timing. So we have done this for 6 years. And we have built the model really accurate. And actually, insurance company using it daily business. And I think that model has been tested by the market. That needs time. That's first. And the second, I think the data is very important. How to put the data together, how to build the picture of the risk, and how to test whether your risk profile, a risk report is accurate. That needs modeling, all this work. And the third, probably industry business advantage. So once an insurance company has been using our platform, it's really difficult for them to change. It's an extra cost for them to change. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. One of the important parts of claims is learning from them so that you avoid those claims in the future. How is your platform going to help with that?
You mean to predict the risk in the future?
So when a claim happens and you investigate it, there are lessons to be learned from that. How does your platform help with that?
Yeah, sure. So we keep updating our platform and the key model. So every month there's new accidents happen. And one way we make it better is that we start to work with surveyors. The surveyors, and once there's accidents, there's rescue, and there's marine surveyors to inspect the accidents. So we actually have 2 very specialized surveyor team that providing us the latest accidents and we learn from the accidents report. It's like a very detailed report. We try to update that into the model and then let the model catch up with the latest accidents data and information. So for the future, if there's new circumstances happened, and then we can predict that as well. So that's the logic behind it.
Thank you. That was a good presentation. You have very aggressive growth plans. You need to obviously expand internationally. You've done very well in China. Sure. What are your go-to-market measures to go beyond China? And what do you think is the biggest challenge for you to get that market penetration?
Yeah, thank you. So go-to-market plan, the step one, I think we're looking for collaborations with other technology company and who has already got clients from the insurance sector, especially in marine insurance sector. The second, we work with reinsurance companies within China. So, for example, Munich Re, Swiss Re, France reinsurance. And then, because they take the business in China, for example, Munich Re, and then their customers, other insurance clients in other countries will be also our potential clients. So we doing that way. The third is that actually we need to build a team, the international team, and then rely on them to explain clearer, probably, than myself. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
We've got time for one more question. Okay, I'm going to suggest, Haibin, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're on to our fourth. We've been from Europe to India to China, and now we come to the UK. Claire Georgeson from Sci-Fi introducing CQ, an advanced data collection tool that improves safety by identifying environmental and behavioural risks. Claire, welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here today. My name is Claire Georgeson, and I am the founder and CEO of Sci-Fi. I'm going to be introducing CQ to you, what CQ is, why we use it, and how we use it. CQ is a crew-centric data collection system. What we do with that data is we then analyze it and then anonymously report this back to the owners. So just a little bit about the why, and taking you back a few years. So my background is I come from the commercial shipping world. So I spent many years working in chartering and operations. And I identified there that we collect a lot of data on the vessels, on the hardware. So we look at it strategically. So we know how efficient the ships are, we know where they are, how well they work, and all of that then fits into a strategic plan that we then use when we're fixing these vessels. When we look at scrapping, we look at asset management, and we also look at making money. But we don't do the same for the human element. And we ideated that is probably because of two things. The first one is that we consider the crew to be a cost and not an asset. And I think that is a big mistake. And the second component is probably because it's also very difficult to collect valuable data. But actually, if we had a methodology where we were asking seafarers prevalent problems, understanding what those are from the maritime industry, we could actually do something quite spectacular. We could actually look at it in terms of safety. We could look at it in terms of better retention, less incidences, and better vessel performance. So just very quickly, what is CQ? So it is not an app, and that's very important to highlight. When we decided that we were going to look at collecting live data from seafarers, we had to do it in a way that the seafarers found the less arduous. So it is not an app. We use social media platforms, WeChat, WhatsApp Messenger, Facebook Messenger, Telegram, to deliver 4 questions daily. And these questions take on average 9 seconds per day for the seafarer to answer. There is no onboard integration, so it is completely anonymous. And that is a super important point, because what we are trying to do is build up a robust data set. No app, no shore, no vessel integration, no problem. So about CQ, I think because of the ease of what we do, it has kind of proven at the place of where we are right now. So we have over 4,000 active seafarers using this per day, and our usage rates are ginormous. We're above 92%. If we consider how that looks in a kind of static survey model, that's below 50%. So we're doing pretty good. We have a 97% successful contract renewal, and that was from year 1, from year 2. And I sit here with my peers. We know how difficult it is as a startup, so we're very quite proud of this. And finally, everything we do is vessel-specific. It is customizable. We speak to the owner to understand what their prevalent problems are and build that into our question model. So one component that we're really proud of is when we are looking at collecting valuable data, the methodology is super important. We do this in 4 ways, which becomes the 4 questions that we ask every day. The first is we're assessing the importance of something. So to give you an example of one of the questions that we ask, it is around competency. We ask our seafarers, hey, how important is it for you that you are treated as a competent seafarer? Seafarers are professionals. 100% of the seafarers, we use our grading system to indicate, yes, it's very important. So we say, okay, fine, that's great. How satisfied are you at this moment in time that you are being treated as a competent seafarer? If a seafarer then indicates that, actually, no, they're not that satisfied, we can immediately see that there is a divergence between the importance and the satisfaction. And that divergence is where the problems start to begin. The third question then looks at impact. What is the impact that having high importance, low satisfaction has for you? Is it that actually you're just not working very efficiently and effectively, which has a safety implication? Is it that after this rotation, you don't want to come back to this specific ship? Is it actually you don't want to be on the ship at all? What is the reason for this? Which then leads on to our 4th and probably most important question is then how can things be improved? We look at what is it that has happened, what is wrong in that moment of time, and then what can be done. This is the best practice management portion of what we do. And consequently, if things are high importance, high satisfaction, the system will also ask, great, tell us what has been so successful. So we're collecting both the negative data, but also the positive data. Just very quickly on our reporting and our insights, which is again a very important component of what we do this in 2 ways. The first is we have an online dashboard, which is available 24/7. And the second part is that we do in-face meetings and reports with the owners 4 times a year. And that is really when we get into the scrum of what we are doing. We do deep dives, vessel-specific, looking at the differences and what the prevalent issues are. So our ask, we need you. We need this whole room, every stakeholder, from a ship owner to P&I clubs to the general public. And what we want to do is ask you to reframe the status quo. Your crew are your assets. Your ship is your asset, but so is your crew. And this kind of old adage of happy wife, happy life is somewhat correct. We know that content people work safer, they work more efficiently, and they work more effectively. And then looking at what we do in terms of our value proposition, it's really important to understand how the individual vessels within your fleet operate. We know, as owners, you will have 2 exactly similar ships, sister ships, similar trade, similar crew matrix, but they could be completely operatingly differently. Ship A could have an amazing safety record. Ship B, not so much. What is it about Ship B that isn't working as effectively? Is it communication? Is it motivation? Is it recognition? What we do is we unearth that. And then within this, there is this component, of course, that seafarers are professional mariners. An organizational want is not the same as a vessel want, but we need to make this work together to build value. And finally, when we can use this data succinctly, we can show the industry how responsible we are. A few of my colleagues have already spoken about SIRE 2.0 and RightShip, now moving and pivoting away from looking at just the hardware on the vessels, but now looking at the people. We need to understand what components of their working life increases risk. So finally, my ask again to you is that when we think of seafarers, please think of them as an asset. Think of them as a completely important component of your value chain. Think of the value that data can bring you. And finally, please think of CQ. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Over to the judges.
Thank you. Very compelling presentation, I must say. I see that you're collecting data which includes things like gender and rank. So how do the crew take confidence that the data will not be traceable, and how do you ensure they are honest?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question, and thank you for asking that. Our onboarding process is really important, and also the connectivity to the owner in terms of what we are doing. So we rely very heavily on an owner or operator to really explain that this is anonymous. And because it is not a downloadable system, you don't need an email address, you don't have to have it integrated into the system. The seafarer does recognize over a proportion of time that it is anonymous and that it is safe to use. And that is reflected, I think, both in our usage rate and also our retention rates. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, sorry. Thank you very much for it came across as clearly a passionate presentation. And I think we all recognize that well-being and engagement are vital in all industries. How can you ensure that seafarers answer the questions honestly?
Absolutely, thank you for that. So interestingly enough, when we think about a typical survey model, the usage rate and the sort of answer rate is super, super low. And we spent a lot of time thinking about how can you get the seafarers to use this? Again, with our marketing, an important component is that we say to the seafarer, this is a tool that you use. This is your voice. If you use it succinctly, you use it every day, we then look at that in terms of a trend, and we report that directly to the owner, whether it's the DPA, whether it is the fleet manager, whether it is the CEO. And because we are looking at a continuous feedback loop, and because we sit down with our owner, when we're looking at strategic change, the owners are the experts, so we can only give them the data, and then they can work on an action plan. And some of it will be short-term, medium-term, and long-term. But when those changes start to be made, the seafarers recognize that this is a really valuable service. Thank you.
Claire, Great, great presentation. And I couldn't agree with you more that seafarers are our assets. And good owners follow this practice, and they have existing practices in place to see that the seafarers are well taken care of, especially on their fleet. So when you're going to pitch against existing methods in place, how would you say that you have something unique and different? Because they'll say, well, look, we're doing something, we're checking in, we have tests, etc. So how do you sell it to the competition? Oh, sorry, to the market?
Absolutely, thank you. The one thing that we're really proud of is our methodology. It took us a while as well to get this right. So the way that we collect the information is we're obviously looking at the 4 pillars. We look at the importance, we look at the satisfaction. As it stands, a lot of owners will do things in a very manual manner. They would send a DPA onto the vessel would speak to the master would be the ear back that he might then have from the crew. But we collect data from everybody on board that vessel. And a really important component is that you might have an owner, and the top 3 will be their own crew, but the ratings are not. They're third-party management. But all the crew they're a risk to some extent. So whilst the owners are doing a lot, and they're doing more than they did during the COVID era, which is really commendable, they're not, again, looking at the seafarer in terms of an asset and connecting those dots between you have hardware data and then human element data. So I would say that's where we differ. Thank you.
Great presentation. Just a question on your commercial. How is it set up today? Is it per seafarer? Do you charge per vessel, or what's your business model?
It's per vessel, usually just because it's an easier way to work it out, but it's what we encourage is that owners sign up for 12 months, because what that does is it gives us 12 sets of rotational data. We ask generally 30 questions each month, which we then rotate, because we're looking at trend-based analysis. Because we do face-to-face meetings quarterly, that then gives us 4 face-to-face meetings with that owner. In terms of the costing, it works out as pennies per day per seafarer. And again, because we are looking at this and encouraging seafarers to be considered an asset, it's important that we're sensitive to, sadly, the crew still sitting as a cost.
Just to follow up on that, thank you. Can you quantify the ROI? Is that something you've done?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a case study here, if I can bore you for another 2 minutes. So we worked with an LNG owner. So LNG, an incredibly difficult cargo. The owners are somewhat suffering because there's not what they would believe to be the most competent crew or the most trained crew. So when you do get competent LNG masters, engineers, ABs, ratings, you want to keep them. So the owner was really having an issue with retention. And they believed that they were paying well, so they were doing all the extrinsic things very well. They had helplines, they had good contract arrangements, but they were losing people at the speed of light. So we used CQ to really understand what that was. And actually, at the end of it, it became this perception of safety. So the owner, very safety conscious, LNG, but the PPE didn't fit, and the quality was poor, and the DPA never went on board. And the crew were like, it doesn't really match up. And all that happened was they just decided that their safety was more important than this particular owner. So that is one example, very quick one, of how we helped an owner directly.
We've got time for one final question, I'm afraid.
Can I ask, thank you very much for the presentation. Can I ask, once you've gathered the data and you've sat down with the owner and the owner's come up with a short, medium, long-term plan, do you then follow up and do an analysis of that, the result, and see how that changes the data?
Yeah, excellent question. Again, one of the components of asking the questions, similar questions every month, is that we're building up this trend. So our feedback loop, which is really important to the seafarer as well, because they want to know that all of the information, the data that they are giving to us, has an impact and an effect, because this is continuous. All we do is we just ask a similar question. Hey, has the PPE on board the vessel changed? Has it improved? And if the seafarer says, no, it hasn't, we can then go back to the owner and say, give us an update, why not? So the system has been designed to internally benchmark against the vessels, but also ensure that any improvements that are being made are being made. Thank you.
Claire, thank you very much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, before we allow you a 15-minute break and indeed give our startups a bit of a breather, we've just got two short showcase videos for you. The first is from a company called D2Nox, followed by a company called C-Score.
D2Nox is an innovative, inexpensive solution to reduce NOx emissions from the combustion process, making use of a new approach to exhaust gas recirculation. The context for D2Nox is simple. Firstly, about 15% of global NOx emissions are from the marine sector. Secondly, regulators will continue to tighten regulation and foster a positive environment for ship owners to upgrade existing fleets. In several validated tests on engines with no emission certificate, we have proven NOx emission reduction of up to 95%. Compared with SCR systems, D2Nox does not need urea, leading to substantial direct cost savings. The solution is designed to be retrofitted to primary and auxiliary engines. D2Nox will run independent of load or temperature and in 24/7 operation without any additional safety aspects. The system has minimal individual energy needs and can be optionally extended to generate hydrogen to support additional efficiency gains. How does it work? Effectively, exhaust gas is recirculated from the exhaust bypass. After the particle filtration process, D2Nox cools down the gas temperature using a specifically designed process. The cleaned and cooled exhaust gas is finally reintroduced into the combustion process, leading to the much lower occurrence of NOx. We are a German startup with a solid R&D track record involving clients in both inland and ocean shipping, and we look forward to your inquiries.
Extended downtimes are a concern for every naval and marine transport ship. Seascour provides the simple solution for clean in-place processes, allowing for maintenance being completed on board and while operational. Seascour benefits you in many ways, such as zero hazardous waste, which allows for discharging directly overboard, increasing operational efficiency, easily perform on-site cleaning for all heating and cooling systems, and provides powerful cleaning while being 100% organic. Traditional maintenance requires a combination of damaging inorganic acids plus significant costs for labor, replacement of materials, and downtime. Replacement parts alone can easily exceed $20,000 per year, but we provide the solution. Seascour is 100% organic, USDA BioPreferred certified, and EPA Safer Choice certified. It is non-corrosive, requires no chemical neutralization, and is completely safe to be used on board and while underway. It does not require special storage procedures, and it has a shelf life of 3 years. All of these benefits lead to peak efficiency, greater operational time, and safety for both the crew and vessel. Protect your equipment, employees, and the environment with Seascour. Contact us today.
All right, everybody. Well, while we take our judges off for their first deliberation, after the 4 fantastic pictures we saw, we're going to take a short break of around 15 minutes to stretch the legs, grab a tea, grab a coffee, and then we will be back to finish off our final 3 pictures before it's time for the audience Q&A and the audience vote. So please be back here in 15 minutes. Thank you very much.
No, it's not. Ah, there we are. Hello, everybody. Right. If I can ask you to retake your seats, there'll be plenty of time for networking a little bit later on, but we are tight to time. So please find a seat, and we'll be ready to go in a second with our 5th finalist this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, take your seats, please. I bribe people with a drink. We are shutting the doors. Grab your coffees, grab your teas, and grab a seat, please. I can see our judges coming back. We'll be ready to start in a moment. So while we're waiting, just a couple of reminders. There will be the public vote, which will go live at the end when we finished all 7 finalists this evening. And then there will also be a public Q&A or an audience Q&A, so please get your questions ready. We'll grab our finalists, put them up on stage, and we'll take your questions then. So please have a think about what you'd like to ask everybody. All good? Yeah. Cool. We're missing one judge there. 2 judges. 2 judges. Stephen's missing. Jonathan's missing. Okay, we're just missing 1 judge. It's that awkward silence. I'm not no. Okay, thank you very much for coming back so quickly. We will move on. Introducing our 5th finalist this evening, Sydney McLaurin. So we've gone from the UK, we're now heading across the Atlantic to the USA. Fleet Robotics has developed a compact autonomous robot for monitoring surface conditions, coating thickness, and biofueling levels in ship hulls, make it easy for the crew to use and providing valuable insights and analytics. Sydney, welcome.
Hi, my name is Sydney McLaurin, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Fleet Robotics from Boston. I have a background in industrial automation and experience building and investing in early-stage hardware startups. I'm a dad, I'm a husband, and I'm really a lot of things, but what I'll tell you I'm not is a seafarer. It makes me a little bit of an outsider in this room, right, obviously, and I say that up front because over the next couple of minutes, I want to be able to convince you that the insights that I have in this outsider perspective is really valuable to the industry as we come about this and the way we look at the problem. The second thing I want to convince you of, I know I got a lot of work ahead in a couple minutes, but the second thing I want to convince you of is that we have the most proactive and easy-to-use solution for hull management at sea. All right, we got a lot of work to do, so let's get started. It might surprise you to hear me say that I actually think the solutions for dealing with large fouling on vessels are quite good today. The coatings are quite good. The innovation there is happening at a record pace. And as you go through the cycle, the robots that work in port, a lot of the cool innovations that are happening there are really pushing this industry forward. But what about the small stuff? Actually, maybe you couldn't hear me, so I'll say that a lot. What about the small stuff? What about the slime and the stuff that happens in between when you apply the coating and you actually can do with the hard fouling? Does that matter? Does that matter? And that's kind of where we're here today. So the IMO thinks it matters, but I will say, I brought this problem about 3 to 4 years ago, so I'm, again, relatively new, but what I can say I've found out is that the IMO saying it is not the final say-so. So let's take that as a data point, but not the final point. And this 25% number, let's maybe take that down to something a little more palatable, right? Let's take it down to maybe 5%, something we can kind of talk about in math terms. And let's take 90 days of, every day the ship is operating with this slime on the hull for 90 days, a modest 5% increase. Does that matter, right? Does that matter? It turns out it does. At $500 US a ton, right, a modest sort of consumption, it really matters. It's a significant amount spent due to this issue today, even with the fantastic solutions that I talked about already. At Fleet Robotics, we solve this. One of the things I like to think about in this is, in the US, we say, don't sweat the small stuff, right? And so the nice thing is we allow you not to sweat the small stuff. We have a robot that's data-driven. It's swarm-based, so you can use multiple of them. And they operate, most importantly, at sea, right? They allow you to move this problem from an import-based problem to a problem that you're addressing in a data-driven, analytical way at the early stage while doing it at sea. I will note that it also doesn't damage the coating, which I know is a sort of important point. So how does it work? I don't know how many of you own a Roomba, but I didn't own one until I started thinking about how Roombas worked. And then it's actually a pretty cool innovation. It goes from a base station, it goes around. Similarly, it starts from a base station and cleans the hull. And not only cleans, but it does inspection. It walks around the hull. It does a lot of interrogation. But similar concept. In terms of the design so far, this has come from, again, as I said, we started this problem because we brought this problem with a customer. And so this design is really customer-driven, right? The placement in the aft of the ship where there's less activity, the fact that it doesn't sit on the side to extend the length of the vessel, all of this is customer-driven in terms of how we've been thoughtful about we do the design and how it actually works. The biggest part of this is we can't disadvantage the crew, right? So asking the crew to periodically put a robot over the side of the vessel and do some type of maintenance is kind of unreliable in terms of a process. And so although it works if you can get them to do it well, you can't rely on that to happen every day. The most novel part about the system is how it actually moves, so the locomotion. Instead of rolling with wheels or treads, it takes steps. And this step process is what allows us to adhere really strongly to the hull, vary the pressure on the surface so we can do different types of tasks, and really allows us to really have a strong adherence to the hull while the ship is at sea. So what do we sell? We sell subscriptions. So this is a subscription-based service. And you're paying for a couple of different things here, but primarily today, the thing we are paying for is the cleaning, right? You're paying for this service around cleaning. But there's also coating thickness, there's also inspection, there's also UT, sort of structural integrity. All these things are really options here, but you're really paying for a novel platform that gives you a cleaning service that avoids that bottom line cost you saw earlier. We are the only company in the market that can provide multiple of these use cases, so inspection, cleaning, monitoring, and do that in a compact package, and do that at sea. That's our huge differentiator in terms of how we look at the market. So there's a couple of data points in terms of the market size, and I won't spend a bunch of time here. Ultimately, it's a large market, and it's interesting enough, right, to be a large market. But what I will spend a little bit of time on is what does the future look like for us? Like, how do we think about growth, and how do we think about the rest of the company? I've been really inspired and excited to hear all of the innovations that people bring to us in terms of what else could this do? Like, where else could it be used? And that's things from contraband detection, that's things from invasive species checks, all the way over to things within the shipyard, right? Thinking about how you actually automate the processes for repairing ships and improving them and sort of changing them over time. And it's really inspired me to try to think about how we can make autonomy work better for people like this. How do we make autonomy work better to improve safety, to improve reliability, to improve a lot of the aspects we care about on a day-to-day basis? So I'm almost done, but a couple things I want to point out. So I haven't talked about team. I have the fortune to be supported by a phenomenal team. It's robotics at its core, but it's also supported with phenomenal maritime experience. Some of our advisors we don't have listed here, but I've listed one just because he has been the most visible advocate, I'd say, for us over the last couple months. And as we think about sort of what the future looks like, we are heading at full speed toward pilot phase. So in 2022, we started this company out of Harvard University with a concept that looked sort of like a starfish, right? It was a really interesting little useless robot that went around. We were talking about communicating between whales. And we took that all the way from, with roughly $7 million, we took that all the way from this concept phase to where it is today. So why are we here? Two things. We are here to ask customers to challenge us with problems they want solved, specifically to the hull. And the second thing is customers who are willing to join us on the journey to solve those problems. We've had a really amazing experience here all the time. Well, by we, I mean I and the rest of my colleagues have had a really amazing experience here in Hong Kong. Appreciate your attention, and I just want to end by saying thank you.
Sydney, thank you very much. Over to the panel, please.
Thank you, Sydney. That was great. I have two questions. The first one, does this cover 100% of the hull, or do you still have any blind spots or certain areas which are curved that the robot can't cover? And the second one, what are the parameters, the maximum weather conditions that this can be deployed safely? What's the sea state, the speed of the vessel, the wind speed? Have you had any testing around that? And what's your recommendation around that?
Yeah, so I'll say up first, we're not very early stages at this point. We've done the testing, but we are not at the point where we've sort of put it out at sea and we could see at a highest sea state, right? So I'll just say that out loud to level set. That said, the design of the robot gives us around 1,000 to 1,300 kilograms of force, like adhesion force, between the robot and the side of the ship without damaging the hull. And so it gives us extreme confidence, even in the theoretical scenarios that we've been able to replicate, that it's not going to have any issues. So that's how we're doing it. And we have plans and a path to be able to do that testing over time. And so as we think about doing that, again, part of this is being able to put it on actual vessels, right? And so that's why we have our early pilots that we're doing in terms of moving that forward. And sorry, I forgot your first question you asked too, and my brain wasn't smart enough to keep both of them in my head.
Does it cover 100% of the hull?
Oh yeah, 100% of the hull.
Yeah.
So when we started this, we focused on the 80% rule, right? Let's get to the 80% first with the robot. Let's get the areas that have the highest impact on fuel consumption, and let's do those first autonomously. And then the other requests that we've gotten that we are looking really deeply at and having the team thinking about is niche areas and the propeller, right? Those are the two obvious ones that I think over time we have to be able to do. We don't today, so we're very much focused on, again, the sides and the bottom. There's one robot per side, right, roughly today. And time in terms of what we got was roughly as a service level requirement for us was somewhere around 15 hours at a time that it needed to do the entire ship. We expect that to drive down dramatically as we innovate and get that closer to the 6 to 7 hours in terms of the little vessel, maybe even a little faster, but we'll see. So.
Yeah, thanks. That was a very impressive presentation, actually. So with the increased adoption of silicon paints, which looking at the robot, I don't think it can clean silicon paints because it has a rotary brush, what I could see on the photos. So basically, it's a comparison between the cost of the silicon paint versus the cost of of putting a cleaning solution which would take care of the fouling, right? So how would the two compare?
Yeah, a little bit. So one of the important things for us is really gentle brushing. So the stuff that we're cleaning off is stuff you can clean off with your hand. And so one of the critical components of how we've designed the robot, it's its ability to actually either adhere to the surface really hard, right? So you can actually push down really hard on it, or you can do it really softly. And the brushes are really a function of, the impact of those brushes are really a function of how hard it pushes down. So we could do anything from add an abrasive and remove the coating altogether, to being very, very gentle with the coating and not actually damaging it. The other nice thing about silicone-based coatings that we found, this is generally a kind of cool physics thing for me as a sort of engineering nerd, is that if you get the brushes spinning fast enough, you actually don't have to do a lot of brushing because it's not that much there, and if you do it at the early stages, then it will just spin it and kind of take it off without you having to do a lot of brushing. And so for us, we've really looked at being very gentle on the coatings. Again, coating friendliness is one of the core concepts, and doing that at the earlier stages is how we do it. But you asked a specific question on how do we think about this balance between cheaper coating and sort of adding this robot. We still will always be priced lower than that differential. We recognize that's a trade-off that a lot of people are making as they think through this. And then in the future, we're already looking at some potential partnerships, right, that might even make that easier, right, and make your choice in that easier and more obvious as you think about the options.
Hey, Sydney. Very good presentation, very engaging. I guess I've got two questions, but I'll split them. So first question is how reliable is the robot? Like how often does it need servicing or other things? So how long before you need to replace it, whether it's batteries or brushes, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so that's to be quite honest with you, the work that we're doing right now. So one of the hires that was critical to me as an industrial automation person was bringing in somebody who's made reliable things before, and not 999, but not 99%.1, right? 99%.999999. So it's not going to have issues. And Mitchell Weiss just joined us as a roboticist who's done that 9 times now with industrial automation companies, and he's done that over a 40-year career. And so he is the person who's leading that effort in terms of doing a common system architecture across the applications we're doing, but then most importantly, making it reliable and making the spare parts easy to use and easy to find.
Okay, got it. And my second question is around the data collection for the visual side. So that's already in place, but how often does it collect it? Like, is it constantly collecting it? How do you capture that data? What do you do with that? Just intrigued to understand more on that.
It's sort of up to you. So we've gotten 2 requests. The first is that we put it in discrete chunks. So a video is harder to analyze easily than pictures, right? Just in terms of things from a data perspective. And so we can put it in discrete chunks. So that could look like doing a ship hull is just a collection of squares, as you know, right? So the weld lines separated into squares. And so we can do an amount of data that we collect in each square and then be able to place that data back in terms of where it was on the vessel. But the other requests we've gotten are on like coding thickness in terms of being able to do interrogations at some interval. And so again, that's already a discrete data point, right? So that would you just tell us how many of those you have. Every time it takes a step, it does about 24 points that it checks anyway. And so you tell us, do you want it all the time? Do you want it later? And the other option is on the structural integrity. So UT, that tends to be I don't need that all the time, but I need it kind of periodically, or I think I hit something, go check that area. Again, it's up to you, and it also depends on, it gets expensive to stream that data back, right? So if you want it streamed back, right, if you have systems like, so when we do offshore vessels, they already have the data set up, right? So they're like, hey, we want all kinds of data, and so we stream it for them. But if we're doing vessels that are going around the world, they might want different data points. And so it's really, honestly, the reason I'm here is to learn in terms of what you all want, but we've set it up flexibly where you can let us know how you want that architecture set up.
Sydney, great presentation. The good news is I think most of us haven't sailed, so. Okay, so look, I'm a ship owner. We have vessels that spend some time at sea, and then of course when they anchor, there are barnacles that build up very quickly because of the weather conditions. So can you explain that when there is a lot of fouling on the vessel, how does your equipment manage in those kind of circumstances?
Yeah, so the first thing is we don't want to let there be a lot of fouling on the vessel, right? That's why it's autonomous. That's why it's on the vessel. That's why it's early stage. And so our intent here is to move it to a proactive solution where you can reduce the amount of fouling that ends up on the vessel. So if it already ends up on there, you end up with this time period where you've been operating with fouling. And so it's a large fuel loss, even if it's over a short period of time, right? That was the 90 days thing. But what we've heard is like that can be 6 months pretty easily. And so our intent is to make it proactive, where you don't have to worry about that large amount of fouling. And so that's how we've designed the system. I will tell you anecdotally, this concept of being able to vary the pressure, it actually goes up to even, we did, the other day we were out at sea with the Coast Guard, we were doing a demonstration, and we did plants that were maybe about that tall, and still, so very good coverage in terms of being able to get it off. But the challenge is you're more likely to damage the coating the harder the fouling is, right? It's an organic material that forms roots in the coating, right? That's how it survives. And so the harder you have to push to take it off, the more likely you are to damage that like 400 micron coating that's relatively thin. So.
Okay. I just have a quick follow-up question. Have you been in a situation where you've lost any equipment at sea?
Yeah, I'm surprised it took so long for that to come up. That's usually question one. So I knew it was coming at some point.
Know it's coming.
Yeah, but I knew it was coming. So we do that 2 ways. So the first thing is it's only a question because it's wireless, right? And so we could if we had issues in the future, we'd have tether. I can safely report that we have not lost any. And the question is, what if you did? It floats, number one. So that's anything in the ocean has to float, right? So that's the first way we solve it. And the second thing is the amount of force that it has is like a safety factor of 4 today, right? Because we know it's so important that it doesn't fall off. Like it can't do 2 things. It can't damage the coating and it can't fall off, right? Those are the 2 things that it can't do. And so we have a safety factor that is much, much greater than anything we ever would actually need to make sure that doesn't actually happen.
Jonathan, I noticed you got your microphone ready. We can allow one question.
Very quickly. Can I ask, it's a bit sensitive, but everything's ESG today. So what about, have you done an environmental impact assessment on the particulates that are removed from the hull?
Yeah.
Are they collected or is it just?
So we actually have a really good relationship with the EPA. So I also have an environmental degree in addition to some other stuff. It doesn't matter. But we have a really good relationship as a result with the EPA. And so we've kept the fouling that we're taking within the range that it's actually not an issue environmentally in terms of invasive species. So there's the invasive species risk and there's the copper that comes off of the coating, right? Those 2 big things. And so we've made sure that we keep those things within the allowed range and almost 2 times better, right? So when we look at amount of copper, by not damaging the coating and taking a lot of it off, we minimize the copper. And then by doing early stage slime, which is stuff that you could wipe off with your hand, there's almost no risk of that surviving in like cold water, and especially when you do that at sea. And so the biggest thing we do by minimizing that risk is moving from a port-based problem, which is where a lot of that issue comes in, to a problem that you're doing at sea in deep water, where even if you were taking off large fouling, the risk of that surviving in an unknown environment and dropping to the bottom and with nothing it can grow on is nearly 0. So.
Quick comment. I mean, most of the fouling does happen because of roots coming in while the ship is at anchor. So I guess even if it just did a round at anchor and a little bit on just good weather days, it would be fine. So it doesn't really need to cater to all kinds of weather, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And so, that idling time, right, is where we got the initial customer request, right? When we started this, we had a customer who went to Africa, right, on a trade route. The ship sat there for 30 days, and they were like, man, after this 30 days, it's entirely fouled, right? And I don't have anything I can do with it. I got to take it somewhere and sort of try to figure this out. And so figuring out, that was how we started that. And so the weather conditions have to be relatively flexible in terms of what we can do. And so we've designed that in to be able to operate over a wide range of weather conditions. But again, don't want to make any promises yet. Well, the data, I'm an engineer, so when I get the data, I'll actually send it to you. So.
Okay, Sydney, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Okay, now we move on to our 6th finalist this evening, Captain Vikas Pandey from the UAE, representing Shipfinex. Redefines ship finance by enabling streamlined capital access for ship owners and providing investors and ship ownership through blockchain.
Hi, good evening, everyone. First of all, it's an absolute honor to stand before such an extraordinary gathering. Thank you, Captain Stable. As I look around the room, I see few of you are ship owners here, and many of you aspire to be. So I stand out here with a vision today that being a ship owner is no longer going to be a dream with us. At Shipfinex, we are fractionalizing the maritime assets so that anyone and everyone can own it. What does that mean? That means that with just $1,000, now you can own in this asset class and invest into it. First, let's see the problem, what we are facing. See, if you see this industry, which is actually the foundation to the global trade, is facing problem of opaqueness, capital intensive, and also dominated by the high barrier to entry. So for the investors, the problem starts that it is highly restrictive, illiquid, and complex as well when they want to invest. On the other hand, for the ship owners, what happens is that the financing is a constant challenge. It's a lengthy paperwork process, and they have very limited options to go across and find the funds. So we have been reimagining this landscape for quite a time, going on the new technologies which are coming up. And we have created and built a digital stack for this trillion-dollar industry, powered by blockchain technology, where we are fractionalizing the SPV, which is holding the maritime asset, break it down into the digital tokens, put it on chain, so that it becomes easy, seamless for the ship owners and investors to trade across. Let's see how does it work. So when a ship owner wants to tokenize his maritime asset, he comes to us, which is a debt-free asset. So we are right now not focusing on any mortgaged asset. So it's a debt-free asset which he comes to us. We do the strict due diligence through our Maritime Asset Technical Committee, and independent valuation from the 3 different sources are done. Once this is done, and we are sure that, yes, the asset is good to tokenize, we form an SPV, put that asset into that SPV, and through the SVG, St. Vincent and Grenadines, where we are regulated, we tokenize that and put it on blockchain, where owner can now decide that how many tokens he wants to put on the primary offering. He does that. On the other hand, what happens, the investors, they do their KYC verification proper as per the banking standards. They come over there and they browse the maritime asset and invest into this maritime asset through USD wallet. And this unlocks basically the liquidity for the investments. It's not only this. They can also earn the dividends from these assets as it moves, quarterly dividends, and they can also trade these assets on the platform on the secondary market. So this practically gives transformative benefits for investors and ship owners both as we go across this industry. See, maritime asset competitive analysis, if we actually look around, then we actually stand out against direct purchase, private equity, public ETF, public stocks, where we allow a seamless tradability, seamless transparency, and moving across very simply for the people to own this asset class. We have been taking compliance very seriously at the core of our principle. So we have been working on this for the last 4 years, and we are proud to say that we have secured the initial approval from VARA, which is a Dubai-based regulatory authority for virtual assets, and they have been most comprehensive framework they have created for the virtual assets. We have already received the initial approval, waiting for the final approval, which we'll get in 2 to 3 weeks or maybe 4 weeks. We have also secured the license from Poland under the MiCA regulations or European Union, and also from the St. Vincent and Grenadines for tokenization of the maritime assets, where we do that. For strengthening our governance more, we have formed a Maritime Asset Technical Committee, which comprises of one of the industry experts from all across, from Flag State, IMO, Class, Shipping Finance, Legal, and even the partner of head of digital assets from BCG is also the member of that. So they take care of the high integrity, validity, verification, and transparency that the ship owner is highly integral. His integrity is very high while he's putting the asset on our platform, and continuous operation is also done very properly. Our target users on our platform is very vast. It's like ship owners, seafarers, ship brokers, maritime companies. Everybody can actually participate in this asset class now and trade it freely. And trust me, it's not any idea anymore. Yes, it was an idea in 2018 when I started. We have already started making waves. We have got 10,300 pre-launch registration. We haven't gone out yet, but we have got 10,300 registration from 173 countries. That is worth $26 million of commitment, which is they have given online. And it covers 56% of the maritime professionals from this 10,300 we already have. So for this, it's not achieved like, it took 4 or 5 years to create an excellent leadership team and supported by world-class advisors. We have extensive decades of maritime industry experience, plus also the technology experience. Our CTO is ex-tech lead of Tesla, so that makes that our technology is very robust. Apart from that, as we go ahead, we know that making this vision reality cannot be done without the right strategic partnership and collaborations. We have been working around for almost 4 years on this, and we have secured the right partnerships from the right companies who are going to make our vision into reality, and they are making it. And cementing it more, we have already onboarded 3 ship owners on our platform, which are ready to be tokenized, $200 million worth of assets, which includes bulk carriers, offshore yachts, and tankers. And we are also envisioning that 2028, we will be able to tokenize more than 200 assets on our platform, which will be worth $3 billion with active and vibrant community of all of you, which will be $250,000 and 250,000 people and more. And not only this, we are also envisioning to make payments and loyalty and incentive tokens, which can be given by the ship owners to their staff, ship staff or shore staff. It can be done that way as well. And we are also, in future, we are going to tokenize the freight contracts so that ship owners and service providers can actually work across in this platform and exchange the value. And I'm very proud to say today that, yes, when I applied for the captain's table, we were looking for funding, but we have just closed our $1.5 million of round just before I stand it here. And now what we are looking for is the investors who wants to participate with us in the Series A round whenever we do. But obviously, we look for the collaboration from the ship owners, service providers, ship brokers, charterers, and we really want to make this transformative journey reality, make the equitable access of the maritime community more in this asset. And additionally, I will say, let's dare to dream, dare to transform, and dare to innovate with this platform. Thank you so much, guys.
Captain Vikas, thank you very much. To the panel, please.
Thank you for an excellent presentation. At the beginning, we had a presentation about decarbonisation and the race to net zero. What are you going to do in relation to assisting with that?
Very interesting question, and I did not say in the presentation, but yes, we have been approached by few of the ship owners and few of the funds who are asking us to tokenize the funds so that the green shipping can be financed this way. And we have also, I'll just take one more minute, BCG, who is our strategic partner, they have invested into one of the blockchain, which is actually a green blockchain. So we are planning to partner with them as well, so that the tokens, when the people invest into a green shipping, they will be incentivized by these carbon token as well. So we have been working on this, and yes, we believe that green shipping funding can be done through our platform very aggressively. Thank you.
Vikas, great idea. I like the idea of tokenization, but you can do tokenization of a painting. Now, a ship, it's like a factory. There's working capital, right? Now, you buy a vessel through and you tokenize it, and say, for example, the market collapses and you need more working capital to fund whether the admin, the OPEX of the vessel. How will you go back to the buyers of token to say, okay, look, we need to top up?
Okay, so it's a very interesting question, first of all. Because why I will say that? Because obviously, market can crash and ship owner can demand for more capital. But when he demands for more capital, it means he is demanding that for increasing the value of that asset class so that it can run. So obviously, on our platform, you can increase the tokens as well, and you can raise the fund. The valuation of the asset then will be reassessed through the MATC, and we will be reassessing the SPV's financials and projections. So it will be reassessed in that scenario when the market collapses. And it will happen that the people eventually will be some people owning of that asset tokens, and those who will be owning, they can participate. It will be definitely asked as the voting questions to them as well. They can participate and increase the number of finance on that platform.
So then how do you, how will you be doing a mark to market on the value of the token? Is it once a year? Is it, because you're not going to be looking at this.
No, it's okay. So we already have, so how we are working, we have the APIs connected with vessel value. It's a real-time value which is coming on the platform. And when the people buy these tokens, practically there is an earning the vessel does on the everyday basis. So the token accumulates that earning every day. Every quarter there is an audit done by the PwC or Moore Stephens, whom we have spoken with. Once the audit is done of the books, then a ship owner can decide that how much dividends he wants to distribute or how much he wants to keep the money in the escrow account, which is of the SPV. Once the dividends are distributed, which will be according to the token holding, which is already on the blockchain, it happens through the smart contract, then the value of the token will go down, and again it will start accumulating. So it will be exactly done as what stocks are doing.
Okay, so, and it's up to the owner to decide whether he declares the dividend, as you just said.
He has to discuss and decide before tokenizing with us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
You said that these assets will be debt-free. Isn't that, you said the assets will be debt-free?
Yeah, no, I'm saying that at present, we are tokenizing only the maritime assets which are debt-free.
Yeah.
We are not doing the assets which are mortgaged because at present it is not workable.
Yeah, the question is that I don't think 100% equity ownership of a ship is a very efficient profit model.
No, so what we are, okay, so also just, I could not say in the limited time, that you cannot tokenize more than 75% of the asset. I mean to say tokenize means you cannot make the, tokenization will happen, but you cannot trade more than 75% of the tokens. UBO will still remain responsible for the asset, efficient operations, and everything. That is what MATC is going to oversee as well.
There will be no leverage, right? Without leverage, I'm not sure it's a very profitable business.
Without the leverage, it is not a profitable business.
Component of ownership.
Sorry, I have to hear the question again.
Without a debt component of ownership, you have no leverage, which does not maximize the earnings from the asset.
At present, when you go to private equity and raise the funds, it's a private equity fund which is giving the funds. And the leverage comes to the owner as well. So now the owner has an opportunity to come on the platform. So it's a $2.6 trillion industry. Obviously, we have spoken to multiple owners, and they are ready to tokenize the vessel and access to this capital, which was never before.
So, hey, thanks for the presentation. Very interesting pitch. I've got one question, so more on what's your revenue model? So how do you make money? How do you make fees?
Yeah, so we have a revenue model of 1.25% we take from the owners for the capital raised, whatever capital they raise. And there is a very small component between $25,000 to $50,000 which we charge before tokenization. And further, from the investor side, we take 1.25% once. That's it. Further, when the asset goes in the secondary market for trading, there is a 0.20 maker-taker fees.
But how do you then, if you're taking that as a one-off, how do you not charge a fee to the retail investors, or how do you keep
charging 1.25% fee when they are first time buying this asset, and when they sell it second time or buy the second time when the token is being traded, it is only 0.20%. So that is what is our financial model. The more assets are traded on our platform, we make more fees.
Okay.
We have got time for one more, gentlemen.
Please, sir.
With access to capital and less accountability because of tokenization, would this not deteriorate the quality of how the ship is, of the ship owner themselves? It would not, I mean, it would allow maybe dark fleet
so you are asking a question on the integrity of the ship owners. So that integrity of the ship owners, obviously, that is why we have created the MATC, that the integrity of the ship owner is remain. So it is simple as that. Let's suppose today, some owner wants to tokenize his asset on my platform. He tokenizes it once. We will definitely make sure that his integrity is maintained through MATC. But still he doesn't, then he will not get the second chance because his ratings will go down. That's how the platform works. We are a marketplace. And the market drives the value, market drives. So we are opening up this space, which was very limited for very limited people to play with.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Captain Vikas, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we are heading towards our 7th and final finalists for this evening and for this year. We've had a bit of a global tour and we're now back in the UK. I'd like to introduce Will O'Malley from the UK and GT Wings. GT Wings and their compact lightweight AirWing delivers advanced wind population systems for commercial ships, significantly reducing fuel consumption and greenhouse gas emissions.
Thank you. I did say as long as I don't trip up on the way to the stage, I'll be okay, and that's exactly what I did. So thank you. To introduce myself, my name is Will O'Malley. I'm the CFO of GT Wings. GT Wings is developing wind propulsion technologies for commercial shipping. Our first unique product, AirWing, will accelerate the decarbonisation of the global shipping sector. So what's the problem? We've heard a lot about the problem this evening. Shipping is a big global polluter. It's currently around 3% of global emissions. That's the same as a country like Germany. And there's a raft of regulations that are hitting the sector. In Europe, we have the EU ETS from Jan 2024, Fuel EU Maritime from Jan 2025. Globally, we have the IMO's net zero ambitions. We have CII, EEDI, EIXI. We all know the regulations that are coming to the sector. The more regulations that come increases the cost of non-compliance for ship owners. The crux of the matter is there's a lack of technology which is easily retrofittable, reasonably priced, with a low impact on vessel operations. The solution is AirWing, a brand new form of wind propulsion system. So we use what we call patented boundary layer flow technology, which optimizes lift and thrust from the device. Because we can optimize lift and thrust so efficiently, our devices are much smaller than competitor devices. That means we have less impact on vessel operations, and that also means that we can install anywhere in the world, we can install without dry docking, and we can transport the units in 40-foot containers. So very efficient, very easy to transport and install. So the devices will save between 10 and 30% fuel savings. That's a pretty wide range, but that depends on the routes, it depends on the vessel, it depends on the number of units. But it really is an exciting product. We're seeing generally payback periods now with the new regulations in the 3 to 4 year periods, and we think those will come down as the regulations get more strict. We firmly believe this is a game-changing technology in this space. So our first installation is very exciting. It's happening as we speak. We're assembling it right now. It'll be installed in December and into January. Carisbrooke Shipping chose GT because they only had a 2 by 2 meter square on the bow of their vessel, so a very small space. They looked at multiple competing wind propulsion types, but only GT Wings could deliver the thrust and fuel-saving benefit from such a small space, so they chose us. This single installation will save between 10 and 12% of fuel savings on our estimates on average over its life. Carisbrooke love the technology. We've got an LOI for their 5 sister ships. This is probably a good moment as well to talk about the broader marketing efforts. We've done over 60 feasibility studies globally, a huge amount of interest from the industry. We're seeing incredibly strong results. Multiple third-party studies have now been done, which show that we can deliver twice the thrust than competitor units for the same size unit. So just to talk a little bit about the market, we estimate there's probably about 50 to 60 modern forms of wind propulsion fitted on vessels globally at the moment. The EU estimates that by 2030, that could be over 5,000 separate installations. The UK Clean Maritime Plan recently said that 40 to 45% of the global fleet will have wind-assist propulsion fitted by 2050. It really is a very exciting high-growth market, and GT has got ambitious plans to dominate this market. So I'm a CFO, I have to put some numbers in. These are what we think are very conservative numbers. So we're only assuming we're going to sell 9 units next year, and we're looking at 86 units by the end of the forecast period. In reality, given the size of the market, given the level of interest we're seeing, we think we can have an order book much bigger than that, much more quickly. Even on these conservative numbers, this is a $35 million EBITDA in 2028. So at a 10 to 15 times valuation multiple, I'll let you do the maths, but it's quite exciting and gets quite big quite quickly. The team is really exciting, really world-class. So George Thompson, the founder, he's been in wind propulsion his whole career. He set the business up. Kushru Bandari, our most recent hire, he's a 40-year ship management and ship chief engineer professional. We recently dragged him out of retirement, and he's been excellent on the ship side. And we're supported by an outstanding group of engineers and designers with F1 experience, with America's Cup experience. It really is a high-caliber, high-pedigree team. So what are we asking for from the audience today? I'm afraid we're being cheeky and we're asking for two things. So the first one, our order book is now open. We'd love to talk to you about orders. We are already penciling in the schedule for 2025 and 2026. So we are looking to speak to ship owners who are interested. We're very happy to run free feasibility studies and talk to you about the impact AirWing could have on your fleet. Secondly, we raised a seed round earlier this year. We raised $1.6 million. We're raising another $1 million now to accelerate the iteration, to accelerate the products, the 30 and the 40 meter products, to allow us to build out our sales and marketing platform as well. So I just want to conclude by saying we really think this is the right technology. This is wind propulsion 2.0. This is a big step forward versus what's out there on the market. This is being delivered by an outstanding team of commercial, finance, and technical people, and this is the right time. Wind propulsion is the next big thing in shipping, and we're going to be right at the front of that market. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, and patiently waiting to the end there. Final time, please, to the judges.
Will, this is impressive. I've studied some wind propulsion technologies of maybe your competitors, and I've got some questions here.
Uh-oh.
What is the cost of your product?
So the cost of the 20-meter unit from the slew bearing up, we're talking around £750,000, so around $950,000 installed. Sorry, slew bearing up.
Okay, is that the smallest or the biggest?
That's the smallest.
Okay, and what kind of vessel is that?
So the first one's being installed on a 124-meter general cargo vessel.
Okay, so, and tell me about the higher cost ones, like for, say, larger vessels, like merchant.
Yeah,
like
so then we'll go up to the 30 and the 40-meter iterations. Those will be, we're probably going to do the 40-meter first because we've got a lot of interest for the 40-meter from bigger clients with VLCCs and so on, and then probably the 30-meter after. So the 40-meter iteration will be double that and a little bit more, most likely.
So what
around
about
2 million US.
2 million US or 2 million pounds?
US.
Okay, 2 million US. And is that a delivered cost, or is that just for the cost of?
That's the delivered cost of the unit.
Okay, so then, fine. So 2 million pounds, so $2 million, and so take us through how that equates to a payback in 3 to 4 years. Is that an aggressive payback, or is that a conservative payback?
We don't think that's an aggressive payback. I mean, we base all our data on 30 years of weather data. We base it on the actual route the ships are on, so it obviously depends upon the route. The first carriage brick vessel is going between Europe and Canada, so it's a North Atlantic route, so it's quite efficient from a wind propulsion perspective. But we're taking into account the real anticipated fuel savings. We're taking into account the real ETS savings and the real fuel EU maritime savings. It works out roughly at around 50% fuel savings and 50% savings due to reduced penalties on that Carisbrooke vessel. But obviously every vessel is slightly different depending on the route, depending on...
Yeah, that works out about 300,000 US approximately a year if you go over 4 years. So is that the kind of numbers that you're...
Yeah, about $250,000, something like that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Fascinating presentation. Can you tell me about the maintenance regime and also the anticipated lifespan of these wings?
So the lifespan, they're being designed to match the life of the vessel, so they'll have a 25-year life. So one of the benefits of our unit, which I didn't have the chance to talk about, is they will be easy to take, well, relatively easy to take off and put on another vessel. It'll just be a bolting pattern and they can be moved relatively easily. The maintenance regime is quite straightforward. We think of it similar to a ship's crane, so it'll need regular greasing by the crew, and then it'll have 5-yearly kind of more extensive surveys. But yeah, essentially it's pretty straightforward from a maintenance perspective. There is an internal array of fans, so those will need to be maintained as well. But those are, based on the data we have and based on the discussions with Carisbrooke and other clients, those are very efficient units. Carisbrooke has a number of the same fans on their vessel already. They've had them for 13 years and they've never had a breakdown. So we're quite confident in the reliability of the fans.
How long does it take to install? And do you install them straight from for a new build? Is it straight from the shipyard, and where?
So installation itself is very quick. If it's a retrofit, obviously there might need to be some
some deck strengthening. So there's about 2 weeks of deck strengthening work that's going to happen on the Carisbrooke vessel, but we've got 2 days for installation. So the installation's pretty quick. It's a bolting pattern and it'll get craned on. Yeah, we have an MOU with a yard in Korea already, South Korea, looking at their Suezmax tankers and being the go-to wind propulsion solution. So I think we'll be going down both avenues. I think the bigger market for us will be new builds, but as a startup, when we start to speak to clients doing new builds in 2027, 2028, we're going to be reliant on retrofits, I think, in the short term.
Servicing every 5 years. I wonder, the cost of the servicing has been taken into account in calculating the ROI?
Yeah, we do. I forget the exact numbers. I can come back to you, but yeah, we take into account a pretty meaningful number.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's something like $50,000, I want to say, but I need to check.
Thanks very much for the presentation. What training is required from the crew for operating these devices?
Yeah, great question. Not a huge amount. We're going through, actually, at the moment, we're designing the crew training manual, and we'll be spending time with the crew. It's a pretty simple system to operate because it's either on operational, it's stowed, or it's feathered. So there'll be a new monitor on the bridge, but otherwise there's very little crew interference. It's all about, we get told a lot about the annoyance factor. Like, no one likes these devices. They're in the way, they're big, they're annoying for unloading and loading. So keep them small, keep them simple, keep them easy to operate. So that's been the philosophy from the start.
Thank you, that was great. Just a follow-up question. So there's no operational impact as such, but does it impact any cargo carrying capacity of the ship? Is there anything that one needs to do if it's on one side of the vessel?
In the context of the overall size of the vessel, the other benefit we have is that our unit is basically a steel tube with composite fairings, so it's relatively light. So the unit's around 35 tons. It sounds a lot, but in the context of a big vessel, it's a relatively small. So potentially there might be a reduction in cargo handling capacity, but it's relatively light, relatively minor.
And how many do you recommend, given the length of the ship?
Yeah, it's a good question. So on the Carisbrooke vessel, the optimum for that would probably be 2 or 3. You could probably get up to 30% plus fuel savings. But because they carry a lot of brake bulk and they have hatches all the way along, they only have this space at the front. So it depends very much on the size of the ship and the configuration. That's why the Carisbrooke vessel will save only 10%. But in theory, we could do probably up to 3 wings and 30% plus.
So 35 tons per unit times 3 on one side means about roughly 100 tons on on one side and then 100 tons of ballast on the other side. So it's about 200 tons of cargo reduction.
If you have 3, yeah.
Okay, I think we've come to a natural pause. Let me just, before I close you down, ask any final questions, judges? Okay, let's hear it for Will O'Malley. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you to our finalists, but very importantly, thank you to our judges, because even though I think you've worked hard over the last couple of hours, you now have the tough task of deliberating who's going to be the winner of the Captain's Table 2024. So judges, can I just invite you to head to your deliberation room for this discussion. Before we open up the floor to the audience for a Q&A, we do have several items to go through. The first will be the last of our showcase videos. We introduced a showcase videos 3 years ago to showcase companies which we think have potential. And we would ideally like to invite back to the Captain's Table if they develop in the near future. And that's why we're showing you these showcase videos. So first up, our last showcase video from Autonomy.
Welcome to Autonomy as Maritime Delay Insurance Parametric Coverage and Product Demo. Autonomy identified a 400-year-old insurance exclusion, cargo delay. According to our CEO and co-founder, Autonomy is the first ever global insurtech agency to bring cargo delay coverage to the freight and logistics sectors using parametric insurance technology. Our clients benefit from a unique set of coverage and features, from lifting an exclusion, streamlining the claim and payment process, to offering flexible endorsement coverages. Our product features provide clients with state-of-the-art cargo and insurance automation. These are the risks and exposures we help you cover. Cargo destruction, business interruption, consequential damages, commodities price loss, extra logistical expenses, and reputational risks. Let me introduce our unique parametric delay coverage, offering customized insurance parameters and limits, speed and transparency of claims payments, all within flexible formats, transactional, annualized, and complementary. So how does parametric work exactly? Your cargo arrives at the port of origin and is loaded onto the vessel for departure. Once the vessel departs after the actual time of departure, or a TD, then your policy starts. When the actual time of arrival, or ATA, exceeds the threshold, your policy is triggered. Finally, your delay claim is paid automatically. Thanks a lot for your attention. Take action. Get cargo delay insurance now. Contact us via email or social.
Right. As you can see, lots of innovation happening in the maritime industry. So whenever people tell me that maritime is slow to innovate, I just tell them maybe they're reading the wrong publications. Bringing it back to our next item, we have been in Hong Kong for 6 years now. And whilst the Captain's Table is an industry-led ground-up approach, we would not have had the success we have had but for the support of all our partners, including the government of Hong Kong. And in this regard, Invest Hong Kong has been one of our strongest supporters. So up next, I would really like to invite Mr. Benjamin Wong, Head of Transport and Logistics of Invest Hong Kong, to give us a short speech. And also remind you that there is the audience People's Choice vote. So if you haven't already, can you please scan the QR code available around and vote for your favorite startup. Thank you. But Benjamin.
Thank you, Suyin. Look at me. Don't look at that. It's very big. It's the big me. Yes, so Suyin was talking about the years of YSBN having different occasions and events during the Maritime Week. I remember every year, Suyin Tabitha never fails to have a very good event, and especially in picking the venue. I remember there was in Club Lusitano, there was the carbon credit debate, right? And also there was at the M+. Sorry, not M+, Tycoon. And now here. So before I jump into the very much Maritime Week related subject, now this building. Who knows who's the architect of this building? Come on. Yes, Zaha Hadid. And what about the building right next to here, the Bank of China building? Yeah. So two different architecture, as you can see, that's all geometry, whereas this one is all about curves, right? And a lot of technology in this building. The glasses that they have, you see is very curvy, is what they call a double curvature glass. I don't know whether it's the very correct name, but that's very difficult to produce. From what I gathered, the first company supplying these glasses, it bankrupt. So now this one actually is provided by a city of Germany. Now, another thing about the glass also, how many layers of glasses do you think that is surrounding us? Take a guess, not 100. Six layers. And also the glasses are being treated with some very good anti-reflective coating. For those of you like to take pictures, you know, whenever you want to take some pictures of the outside, there are always glares and also a reflection. But this one actually is actually very good. So it's about the building. And I think it's actually something that, for those that are not here in Hong Kong, you could, see that as one of the very iconic buildings that we have here. Now, going back to the subject, this is the 4th day of the Maritime Week, and you've got a lot of maritime-related about our policies and regulations and all the tech invention, in your mind already. But for the tech side, what I would like to say is about the tech policies of the Hong Kong government. We are really pushing for technology development. For the past about 8 years, we have been investing about 200 billion Hong Kong dollars in the sector already on different things, on infrastructure, on supercomputers, on subsidies, on training of talents. And that is actually covering all sectors, including, of course, shipping. So this is something that we think is actually, it could help actually drive not only Hong Kong, but the whole industry forward. For example, all the tech, all the green invention or ideas that we just heard, actually we will need to have investments. There will be a payback period, but we need to have the investment in that first. No matter it's about the production, the technology of having a green fuel, to the bunkering of itself, or refueling, if you're talking about cars. And also, in terms of having the vessel, and then also in terms of managing it. So it could be something that is physical that we see, and it could be something that we do not see in the system. So this is something that we are trying very hard. For the subsidies that we're giving to the tech R&D, the highest one actually is to encourage the company to collaborate with universities. In terms of universities, Hong Kong, we have the top, in the top 100, we have 5 of those here in Hong Kong. I was mentioning that yesterday that I tried to put it in perspective with other cities. We have 5, but what about other cities? But the ranking is by economy, by country, so it's very hard to do that. However, to put you in perspective, USA as a whole, altogether, top 100 universities, it's got about 11, 12. But one single city here in Hong Kong, we've got 5. So these are the talents that we are training and nurturing for the tech development. So I think, yes, so we are giving the subsidies to support the industry, and also we have the talent, and also we have a very open immigration and also visa policy. So I think no matter it's locally nurtured talent and also overseas talent, we have abundant here. So I think this is something that I'll put a period, a full stop to my speech. And I think this will be, if you've got any questions, come to me. I've got other colleagues over here also. Thank you.
Thank you, Benjamin. Once again, thank you, Benjamin. Thank you, Amy, for all the support that the government of Hong Kong has shown to the captain's table. We feel very privileged for that. Another thing that we feel very privileged about tonight is when we looked at the RSVPs, we actually had 25% of the attendees who flew in from overseas. Yes, you're here from Hong Kong Maritime Week, but you also RSVP for this event, and you're dedicating your time to this event, so thank you very much. Another stat that we're very proud of is we always say that we have a big audience tuning in virtually. You might say, BS, where's the evidence? Tonight, we have evidence. We hope it works.
Yeah, we're trying something a little bit technical tonight, but we wanted to show some love to our London crowd over here. Stephen Jones is leading the charge. Hi, guys. I hope you can hear us okay.
Hello.
So they're beaming in live from Liverpool, part of the Propeller Club's organization. And they've been big supporters of the captain's table, and they got up very early in the cold to all get together over breakfast to watch the captain's table. So hi guys, can you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you. That's excellent presentations.
Hi Stephen, how are you feeling about tonight's show?
It's wonderful. Thank you ever so much. Happy to be part of it remotely with all our bacon sandwiches and coffee to keep us going.
Great, all right. Well, are you going to give us your prediction at all?
Who's going to win?
I very much like anchor protection, so that's my favourite, personally.
Any other votes in the room?
Any heated debates?
All excellent. Very hard to choose.
All right, guys. Well, we wanted to say very big thanks to you all for getting up so early, and we look forward to seeing you all in Hong Kong very soon.
Yeah, and I hope Stephen's bacon sandwiches were tasty.
Very tasty.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Another reminder, please do remember to vote for your People's Choice Award. It is very important, and it also gives an indication to us about whether or not there's alignment as to the important issues facing the industry right now. So this is the QR code. Yes, phones up. Contestants, please do not
It should
use
also
any
be being
bots
passed
to
around
vote
the
for
room
yourself.
as well. So there are sort of paper versions running around and also on the screen and on our LinkedIn page if anyone can't access. Anyway, I'm sure you're all desperate for a drink in this beautiful venue, and we are going to have an after party very shortly. But first, we're going to hand over to Chris for the audience Q&A, and can we invite all our startups up onto the stage? Suyan and I will be roaming with the microphone, so please pop your hand up and we'll try and get through as many as we can in the next few minutes.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, grab your seats and join me on stage, please. Wherever you like.
We were going to make them stand, Chris, but...
No, come on, they've worked hard. They can sit for 5 minutes. Need to move down a bit, I think.
All right, well, they're sitting down. Any hands going up in the air for a question from our audience, please? Oh, we've got one over here. Sue?
Yes, Vishal?
Thank you, Sue. My question to Captain Biswas on your inspection report, actually two quick questions. Yeah, does the report in the end have a grading system? Will it grade that how well was the vessel inspected? And secondly, does it, of course, it gives the condition from what I can understand, but does it also give a defect list of what needs to be followed up? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that question. To both of your questions, it's a yes. So each question in this database we have ranked in terms of their risk capacity. So based on the risk capacity, the vessels would get a score which does not depend on, you might have 15 observations of low risk, and then another vessel could have one high risk observation and get a lower score, a detainable deficiency, for example. So that's how we are rating the questions, getting the rank. And what's the second question again? Sorry.
And do you have a defect list which it can churn out also?
Yes. So there are 3 kinds of reports that the app generates. One, the full observation reports with all photographs, every question that is being checked. Second is a defect report, which is only the questions that were, so the questions were framed in a way that every no, when you answer a no, it automatically records that as a defect. The questions were rephrased that way. So all the no questions, all defects are collected together, and that's your defect report that has to be followed up. And yeah. And the third one, by the way, is a date report. There's a date picker report.
Hi, good evening. My name is Krishnan from the Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers. I have a question for Will from GT Wings. Have you done a study or the interrelation with respect to insurance? So, for example, will the cost become part of the hull and machinery insurance, and also the interfaces or the interconnections with P&I on the liabilities after installation?
No, I mean, we're working with Class, and I understand that it will be included under the ship's insurance when it will be installed. We have our own insurances as well in place, but we've not done any more. If I understood the question, we've not done any additional studies.
Hands up.
Yeah, the connected question to GT Wing. I saw in your presentation that with the single GT Wing, the saving you projected 10%.
Yep.
So has it taken account of the average, all like airflow, wind flow, wind direction situation, or it is taken the most favorable conditions? Because the air, the wind flow and direction around the equator is not that favorable, but it is when you go further to north, it is quite suitable. So then second connected questions, that if we install 3 GT wing, is the gain is additive, 10 plus 10 plus 10?
So on your first question, the Carisbrooke vessel's on a North Atlantic route, so it's quite a favourable windy route. So we've analysed that with 30 years of weather data, and that's on Monte Carlo analysis with thousands of trips, and we run that many times. So effectively, it's an annual average, and there'll be many trips where the savings are higher, many much lower. But yes, it's based on real wind conditions and actually the routes the ship's on. The second question, what you were saying, is it 10 plus 10 if you have 2?
Yeah, is the gain is additive?
Not quite, because, I mean, it depends on the vessel. They'll have some interaction effects. So generally it'll be maybe 1.8 times if you have 2. So you do lose a bit of performance if they're too close and they interact. So there's a bit of, where can you put them on the vessel to optimize that?
Sue, have you got a question? Oh, yeah.
Is that me? Hello, Andrew Brooker at Latitude Brokers. I have a question for AnchorGuardian. There was quite a lot of questions from the panel that related, what they wanted to know was how much the cost was, and then they were relating that back to potential savings in insurance premium, which to the various insurers in the room right now, we're pretty clear will not be offered. Do you think that that is a fair metric of comparison to, for ship owners to look at whether they're going to make a saving on the insurance before they decide to buy a product like yours?
So, I mean, sorry. So the premium of the vessel is defined on the claim history of the vessel. And by helping to reduce the claims of the vessel, that's how you can, as an owner, can actually bring down your insurance. But insurance is just one part of the thing. So the others is that you also can save fuel, sorry, that you can avoid fines maybe due to anchor dragging. And yeah, so these are the basic ways how you actually can save money. But a big part of AnchorGuardian as well is also about safety. And yeah, you don't pay for, I mean, you pay for a fire detector, but it will not give you a saving in the long run, unless you have a fire.
Any other hands up on my side of the room?
I've got a question that's come in online from Sam Chambers, editorial director at Splash, which has come live from France. Maybe if I start, Sydney, with you, and we'll just work very quickly through the panel. What has been the biggest takeaway, the most important thing you've learned about your business from your captain's table experience?
You know, I think the biggest thing I've learned is the really desire for creative solutions to problems today. It's really been, you know, I mean, I mentioned it in my presentation, it's really been inspiring to see, you know, how people are really trying to find solutions really quickly to really, really hard problems, right? I mean, decarbonizing shipping is a daunting task. And so I think the thing that I've certainly learned is how committed people are to finding those solutions. And I've learned that it's an audience that is, I think the second sort of thing, adding to that, it's an audience that is really very technically steeped in trying to figure out how you do data-driven solutions to those problems. So again, that's things that I kind of, you know, knew sort of from market things, but spending the time here with you know, with the team and with the customers has been really driven that home.
Thank you. This is like karaoke, isn't it? I have learnt that I think there is a big palatability for change, so very similar to what Sydney mentioned. And I think we're moving away from reactive solutions to proactive solutions. And that is a really amazing takeaway, because perhaps pre-COVID, I don't think we had that, or at least as prevalent as we have it now. Yeah, that's my biggest takeaway.
So a couple of things. Fantastic people that we've been with for the last few days, and it was fascinating to learn so much of innovation and you know, different kind of thinking is coming into an industry which has traditionally followed legacy systems for a long time. Also, it was an incredible journey working with Tabitha, with Suvin, with Vedika, with Chris. I've been doing presentations for a while now, more than 300-400 presentations I must have done. But you know, the way to make it very, very hard-hitting, I think even my presentation has changed and evolved a lot over the last few days. So that's an incredible learning.
Thank you. First of all, I think I should say that this was an astounding experience for me joining here in a captain's table, and especially Sue, Tabitha, Chris, and everyone. The effort, what they do without any, it's like selfless, is amazing. They guide us, they give us the direction, they put us in front of the industry, direct, and that's something which is wonderful. And especially when all of us join together in the room, and the kind of cohesiveness which we showed to each other and the people whom I could met, such an innovative startups here coming up. And so good to see that in this industry, people are really innovating and doing something which is meaningful for the industry. So it's an amazing time what we had on last four days. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, I can only second that. It was an amazing experience. A big thank you to the captain's table. We had 1 week of interaction, not just between ourselves, but also with the industry. And for us, especially, this was a very good way to first get more in contact with the merchant shipping industry, which is quite new to us. So we learned a lot, but also the discussions with the other finalists was very fruitful.
So I'll probably have 3 points. The first, actually, the captain's table started a month earlier, and then there's online sessions to give us a training in all startup doing business perspective. And then when we are here, there's workshops and let us to reflect what we're going to do in our business journey, and a lot of feedback and suggestions, opinions. And the third is that introduce us to the network here, let us to join the maritime network and know people, and then supporting us accelerate our business to expand and grow. I think that's from me.
Yeah, it's maybe 2 things to add from me. So the first thing, I'm also an outsider to the maritime space, but found it quite inspiring how the push for decarbonisation is real and is happening. So that's really exciting, and I've seen that amongst the group and amongst the discussions with many of you. And the other thing is how good everyone is at pitching. So we've all had to up our game because it's been very impressive. So it's been a really cool experience, and thanks to the guys for organising it.
Thank you for those very kind words.
I was going to say the same thing.
I'm going to cry. Well, I see the judges are back at their desk. So I am going to ask the startups to kindly take their chairs and depart the stage. We are going to get ready for the presentation. No, after, because it's the same. Okay.
All right. I have to say, judges, I thought you'd take a bit longer. So now I'm really curious as to who you chose as the winner. Maybe the bottle of champagne in the judges' lounge helped a bit. Before I invite the judges' representative on stage, I would like to invite Amy from Hong Kong government on stage to help us with the prize presentation, please.
Thank you. Yes, we are going to be welcoming Ms. Amy Chan, JP, Commissioner for Maritime and Port Development of the Transport and Logistics Bureau, on stage. They've been a great support, and we nominated him, spokesperson from the judges, if it's still agreed. Shah, on stage, please.
As Shah's making his way on stage, I thought I'd ask Amy, do you have a favorite?
Sorry that because of a busy schedule, I can only sit for the last 3. But they are very impressive in particular. You know, I just wrote out the action plan on greenfield bunkering. So the last one impressed me a lot.
All right. So she does have a favorite. Shah, what do you have to say to that? Or what do the judges have to say to that, actually?
So on behalf of our judges, obviously, I think it's my 5th year doing this. caliber of the 7 startups this year was excellent. And I think they've touched all different kind of areas for our industry. So I think first of all, like a round of applause again for all of them for what they've showcased. So, as always, it genuinely was a difficult decision for us. But on behalf of our judges, we have decided to award it to CQ from Sci-Fi. Well done.
Congratulations, Claire.
Congratulations, Claire.
All right, congratulations to Claire, 2024 Captain's Table Champion with CQ. We'll let them have a few photos, but we have another award, so don't go away yet.
Congratulations. We do have one more award, and that is the People's Choice Award.
So every year, 6 years in a row, the People Choices Award and the Judges Award is different. Which I'm not sure what that tells us exactly.
Yeah.
But we've just checked the latest poll. Hope everyone had time to place their votes. But this year's People Choice is no different. It's a different startup. We would like to say congratulations to Shipfinex, the People's Choice Award. I think it's safe to say everybody is dreaming of being a ship owner, especially online. Okay, a very big thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for sticking with us this afternoon. The fun continues. We're going to have, Jasper, can I turn the music down a little? We're going to have a party here in this incredible venue. We've got a beautiful terrace outside. Drinks and cocktails and food will be available for the next few hours. So I hope you will meet and mingle and talk to our startups and celebrate with them over a glass of wine. So yes, you're ready. Please make your way to the bar. Can I invite all the startups and judges on stage for a photo, please? Yeah. Sanjay?
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
And if
Benjamin,
there are representatives from any of our sponsors in the room, we would also invite you on stage for a photo with us. Thank you very much for your support for this year's Captain's Table.
And we will be at the bar very shortly.
Yes, representatives from our sponsors,
Last
please.
chance.
Anglo-Eastern, Chelsea, CMES, Wallam, Fairmont, Cetus, Wakwong, Wallam, West of England,
Do we have
TCC
all
Group,
startups
Vesson,
on stage?
and Invest Hong Kong. Gulf
What's the
Oil
team?
Marine as well. We invite all our sponsors on stage for the mandatory group photo.
Can I see the startups hand in the air so I can count you? Have I got 7 on stage? I can't tell. 1, 2, startups 3, 4, 5, 6, high bin 7. Yes, everyone's on stage.
All right, that's us. One of us on each side, I guess. All right, next photo, sorry. Can I have one of the judges and the startups?
Just together.
And then the next one, sponsors and the startups.
Oh, no, I think, well, we can do that as well, but
Yeah,
I think we
and
need
then-
one of just the startups.
Yes.
Yeah. All
And
right.
then we finish with one of just the startups. So you still have to wait by this side. I'm keeping you from the drinks.
All right, big smiles, everyone.
All right, thank
All
you.
right, on the
Sponsors
stage.
and the startups, please.
Any sponsors and startups, please, to the stage?
You can't cry until you're having a drink. I said you can't cry until you have your drink. Thank you, John.
All right, thank you to our sponsors. Can the
Thank you,
startups
sponsors.
remain on stage? Captain's table team with the startups. The chairs to the left will be cleared out shortly, so we'll have more room. But please grab yourselves a drink and some food.
Thank you, everyone, and congratulations to all the startups. Thank you.
If anyone else wants to use our stage for a photo, you're welcome. But otherwise, please enjoy the party, and we look forward to seeing you next year. And thanks to all our online viewers as well.
Fine, I was